The Browns, they're putrid. They're the worst team in the NFL.
The season, the 2024 season is over.
Lamar Jackson can't win the playoffs. He'll win a third MVP, though, so that's great. Drew Sample is the most important piece of the Bengals offense next year.
Go Joe Burrow. He deserves to be MVP. I wish he was the Browns quarterback. Kind of mean that.
If you're looking for the most reactionary, silly, and unserious show on the internet, then you're home. Live from Hamilton, Ohio, it's Off the Bench by Chatterbox Sports on 1410 ESPN Radio.
Well, hello and welcome to Off the Bench presented by United Dairy Farmers. Nice to see you guys. The big bad Kenner's away. I get to sneak back into the host seats, and we get to have some fun here on this Tuesday. A lot happened. A lot to talk about. We're going to talk about football. We're going to talk about the Bauer stuff later on in the show. I have a fun little segment that we're going to do in the midpoint of the show. But before we get to the monologue, fellas, it's nice to be in the room with you guys again. It's
good to have
Jacob,
you back.
Elliott.
It's a beautiful morning whenever
right.
Reed's hosting. That's a fact.
It is. Well, it was a beautiful morning today. There's no doubt.
Are you drunk or hungover as well today?
Okay. This is where I'm being honest here. Last night we hosted the shows at the coaches shows. We do them at Municipal Brew Works, Spooky Nook location. It's a lovely little setup. And after the shows get done, the guy who actually owns Municipal Brew Works pours me a couple beers, and he gives me all the samples. He says, "Hey, you got to try this one," because he knows I like beer, and he loves telling stories. It's actually fascinating to sit there and talk to him. So I sit there and I drink a couple beers with the football coaches, and it was fun. I got home like 9:30 last night, but no, I'm not hungover.
That's good.
I actually all day yesterday thought I had mono or something like that because I was dog tired all day, and for a reason I thought I only had one nucleosis. So that's such a dumb joke. Casey, nice to see your lovely face. No salmon shorts.
Yeah, I almost did the same thing again. That would have been very embarrassing. But I caught myself this time. I'm a little more awake and ready to go for this show. So yeah, I'm happy you're here. Happy that you're hosting today.
We found out that you don't say salmon right. You call it
salmon.
Salmon. Yeah, that's just wrong.
Not okay.
I mean,
wait, what?
He said salmon this morning.
Salmon?
Yeah, I said salmon. I'll say salmon now, but I said salmon initially.
What?
What?
He was sounding it out. He saw Sal,
well,
and then Mon.
I feel like it's
Salmon,
been said
Mon.
in pop culture enough where you didn't need to say salmon. Like in Practical Jokers, Q, Murr, and Salmon. Joe?
Well, his name's Sal.
Looks like
His
you're
name's
tonight's
Sal.
big
What are you
loser.
saying over there?
Yeah, what did he
His
say?
name's
His
Sal.
name is Sal. So
Okay.
let's say
Okay, we'll get past this.
That's outrageous.
It is ridiculous. I hated Salmon more than the way that Casey pronounces Bengals. He calls them
Bengals?
He calls them the Bengals.
Ugh.
The Bengals. It's Bengals. But yeah, let's talk about the Bengals. Why don't we? And as the season approaches, I told you guys that I did the coaches shows yesterday, and it's the first week of high school football. And one question that I always ask is like, hey, what are the goals? What are your expectations for the season? And I think that's a pretty fair question to ask Bengals fans. Hey, what do you want to accomplish this year? What do you want to do? And, when you ask these high school players, you ask these high school coaches, they give you the same answers. We want to win the league this year. We want to go 10-0. We want to win state. All those things that are tangible, that are, great goals to have. Hey, we got to do this. And if we get this, we achieved our goals. If we don't get this, well, then we failed. And you see this with New Year's resolutions. This year, I want to lose 15 pounds. I want to lose 20 pounds. This year, I want to make $25,000 extra dollars. I want to get a raise. I want to get the big raise at work. And you give yourself tangible goals. You give yourself, hey, I got to do this, and I'm successful. But if I don't do it, then it's a failure. And I don't necessarily agree with that being the. Someone tell me.
We could do some fancy editing and just if you go from
If you pick up from exactly where you left
Well,
off.
I don't know. We don't know where the camera cut off though.
Well, he has to line up.
Okay.
Oh man.
All right, we're back.
All right, now we're back for sure. We're 100% back.
We are.
Yes, we are.
Okay, hey guys.
Hey.
I just did a monologue, and we're gonna do it again. But let's recap: is that Casey can't pronounce the word salmon? He calls it salmon.
What?
And that's the most important takeaway.
And that was the most important takeaway. But it's not the most frustrating thing that he says. He pronounces our favorite team wrong. His favorite team wrong. He calls them the Bengals.
Pronounces FC Cincinnati, right?
Well, yeah. Pronounce the Bengals. Bengals. And I want to talk about the Bengals, as we're just going to dive right into this monologue after the spectrum issues.
For the first time.
And as you go into the season, I don't know how you guys are with fans, but everyone does this. You know, you go in with expectations. You say, hey, this is what I want to do as a fan. This is what I want my favorite team to do. And I mentioned this earlier, that we had the coaches shows. We had these high school coaches, and I get the pleasure of interviewing these high school kids, these high school teams. And I ask them the same question to begin the year every year. It's like, what are your goals? And they give you the same answers pretty much every time. They go, hey, we want to win the league this year. Hey, we want to go 10-0. Hey, we want to win state. And those are great accomplishments. Those are tangible goals to say, if we do this, we were a success. But the problem is those are hard to obtain. And you don't want to give yourself, hey, if we don't do this, like there are different ways to being successful. If you go 9-1, was that a failure? Well, when you set the goal of being 10-0, it is. The coaches give you the same answer. We want to do this. We want to do this. And while tangible goals are great, you see this all the time in New Year resolutions. I want to lose 20 pounds. I want to get a big raise at work, where I want to make this much money. Those are fantastic. And if you go about setting expectations for yourself in that way, more power to you. But that's not how I'm choosing to go. In fact, when you talk to these coaches, the best coaches, the most successful coaches, they don't say, hey, we want to win the league. Hey, we want to win state. Hey, we want to be 10-0. They say kind of vague things. And I see this with successful people too when they do their New Year resolution. It's not, hey, I want to lose 20 pounds. It's, hey, I want to be healthier. Or, hey, I want to make more money. It's, I want to have more responsibility at my job. The best coaches say, I don't want to win 10 games. I want to be tougher. Or, I want to be a better team in week 10 than we were in week 1. Those are goals that are vague, and they're intentionally vague. To understand that we're not going to put a point as, if we don't do this, it's a failure. Or if we do this, it's a success. It's just saying, like, hey, can we just continue to improve? And I've got a weird expectation as a fan. And I'm going to tell you here in a second. And I want you guys, if you don't want to go this way, that's fine. You can subscribe to your own expectations for the season of, hey, we want to win the AFC North. Hey, we want to get back to the AFC Championship game. Hey, we want to win the Super Bowl. Yes, of course. I want to do those things too. But also, I understand that there is nuance in success. There are nuances in a season to where I'm not going to just say, if we don't achieve those things, it's a failure. It's an outright failure. Instead, this is the expectation that I want. I want this season to be boring. I want a boring season. Reed, how can you want a boring season? That means they're going to be bad. No, bad's not boring. Bad's painful. Going 4-13, being last place in the AFC North, that's not boring. That sucks. That's the opposite of boring. What I want is that I have these ideas of what the Bengals should be, and I just want them to go out and do it. I don't want there to be loud noise. I don't want there to be injuries. I don't even care if we, take on the Kansas City Chiefs and beat them by 6. Like, yes, that's exciting, but I don't need that. I want this to be boring. I want to wake up on Sunday and just the Bengals to be what I expect them to be, which is one of the best teams in the league. To be a true Super Bowl contender. I want Joe Burrow to be the same Joe Burrow that we here in Cincinnati expect him to be. I don't need him to be the MVP candidate. I just want boring. I want to look at you. You've seen the first 6 games. Everyone's put their stamp on what they need to do in the first 6 games. 4 pretty easy ones. 4 that are going to be favored by around a touchdown. 2 that are pretty tough. Everyone's like, if we don't start 4-2, then what are we doing? I'll be upset. Okay. What if we just beat the Patriots? Don't even cover the 9-point spread. Just beat them. Go out. Beat the Giants on Monday Night Football. Just win the games that you're expected to. Just be boring. I want Jamar Chase to sign an extension that we all expect. I don't need it to be the biggest extension in league history for a wide receiver, and if it is, it's fine. I just think that the boring thing would be that he just, we all know what's going to happen. Jamar Chase is going to be a Bengal. I'm tired of hearing all that stuff. I don't need to deal with injuries. I don't need to deal with this player, Jermaine Burton, being the AFC Rookie of the Year, Offensive Rookie of the Year, whatever the award is. That'd be great, but I don't need that. I don't need bad. I don't need great. I just want the Bengals to be what they have been. And when this unit has been together, when Joe Burrow is out on the field, when Zach Taylor is commanding this team, when Jamar Chase is out there, when Trey Hendrickson's doing his thing, when King Lou's popping the hood in the second half, that's what I just want to see. I just want to see the team that is what Vegas thinks they are, which is one of the true Super Bowl contenders. One of the teams that can win the AFC North. I'm not going to put a stamp and say, hey, if we don't go 12-5 and win the AFC North, it's a failure of a season. Because if they get in the postseason and they're on the road, I've seen Joe Burrow and the Bengals win playoff games on the road. I'm not scared of that. Other teams are scared. You think down in Miami they want to go back to Kansas City? I'm not scared of that. They win anywhere. I just want this to be a boring season. Guys, as I turn it over to you, am I wrong? Am I wrong for just wanting just normalcy? I don't need to have down the wire games anymore. I just need a Bengals team to root for and be the team that we expect them to be.
No, I like that. I think a lot of people, like you said at the beginning, associate boring with bad. And I think when you've reached the level that the Bengals have reached, and we were talking about it yesterday after the show, I think there's only a handful, maybe less teams that I really have a belief that they could actually be holding up the Lombardi Trophy at the end of the year, and the Bengals are in that group. And once you are a perennial Super Bowl contender, boring shifts from 8-9 with Andy Dalton and sneaking into the playoffs. That was boring. Now boring is winning the AFC North and coasting along, beating the teams you should beat. And when this version of the Bengals beats the teams they should beat, you're winning 10, 11, 12 games.
Right.
So yeah, I think that's a great way to look at this Bengals season. And when you put it like that, I think I want boring too.
And I think you can look at it both ways, and you touched on it there. You can say boring is having an underwhelming season, but you can also say boring is when everything that you expect to happen happens. I think if you look at it from an expectation standpoint, last year there were very, very high expectations, and when you don't meet those expectations, and Joe Burrow's hurt coming into this season, then he gets hurt in the middle of the season, that's not what you expected at all. And then there's a change, and then you have some crazy wins over the Jaguars and the Vikings, and this is almost unexpected. Everything that happens was just a crazy town. Now this year, Joe Burrow has been healthy during preseason. He's going to play week 1 fully healthy as far as we're concerned. Hopefully Jamar Chase is going to sign that extension, I imagine a couple days before week 1 happens. And you're going to play a season where hopefully all the expectations we have, which is to stay healthy, win some football games, and hopefully get into the postseason, happens. If that's your definition of boring, that's the best boring I've ever had, and that's what I'd like.
Yeah, it's last year was exciting. It wasn't. I don't know if exciting is the right word, but it wasn't boring. I mean,
right.
it's we're always talking about should Joe play or not. And then they come back and they look like the best team in the league. Then he gets hurt, and you're like, oh, this is all terrible. We were ready to pack it in, and then Jake Browning wins a couple exciting games. Like, oh, can we get back in the postseason? What happens? What's going on with this offense? Then they didn't make it, and it's a roller coaster. I don't need a roller coaster. I don't need that this year. I've ridden the roller coaster. It was last year. It was going to the Super Bowl. I just want to settle in. I just want to settle in to the new Bengals. Casey, boring, good, bad, or you want exciting?
I mean, I'm all for the season being boring, but I still have the ultimate goal of being a Super Bowl contender, which would then be not boring because once you're in the playoffs, it's all the boring tagline gets thrown out the window. Then it gets exciting. Then it's every game matters. So in a sense, yes, I agree with you guys. Season, boring. I want them to win the games that they're supposed to, get in the playoffs. After that, all hands off. I'm ready for whatever craziness happens in the playoffs. Hopefully it's getting back to the Super Bowl. So
yeah, like I think when I say that I I don't want you guys to take it like if they go 16-1, am I going to be mad at that?
Yeah.
No, not at all. In fact, yes, I'm going to be pumped about that. But I'm not going to give myself goals. I think people do this all the time, and I think it's wrong. And if you do it, that's fine. But this is just how I'm going to choose not to go about my life. And I'm not going to set a goal to where if I don't get it, it's a failure. Like I always give it. I learned this a long time ago with New Year's resolutions. It's don't say, hey, I want to lose 20 pounds. Hey, I want to do this. Just say like, hey, this year I want to be healthier, or this year I want to have adventures. Instead of saying like, hey, I want to go to this place, I want to go to this place and this place. It's just I just want to have an exciting year. I think that's a better way of going about that. And what I'm choosing to ask for this Bengals season is I don't want to be on the edge of my seat every single Sunday. I don't want to live or die by every 1 o'clock slot or 4 p.m. slot or primetime game. I just want to see the team that I love. I just want to see the team that I love be the team that we expect them to be. And that's about as boring as it gets, and that's okay with me. That's okay with me. A 10-7 season, 11-6 season, once again, not giving these tangible goals, but just doing the things that we expect them to be. That's all I'm asking. That's all I'm asking. And I'm tired of seeing the stuff on X.com. This team looks terrible. Joe Burrow can't throw the ball anymore. All these things. Remember what they said about Jamar Chase his rookie year? Remember that? Jamar Chase can't catch it. Doom and gloom. Oh, you should be terrified of Jamar Chase. He can't catch the ball. Pretty silly. All right, we'll be right back here on Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers Association, 1410 Wing AM. All right, we'll get back to NFL talk here in a little while, but the Redlegs.
Yeah.
The
We're
Redlegs
back.
had a little change
Look at 'em
in
go.
the attitude and a little change in the attitude on a big Jimmy Buffett kick, if you couldn't tell from my chats yesterday.
That was good.
But, the Reds win 6-3. They doubled their runs that they scored over the weekend.
Yes.
Right.
They doubled their wins, but they go up to Toronto, and you know what? They're 3 games out from 500, and they just keep did they rope you back in? Did they reel you back in with the 6-3 win over the Blue Jays?
Yeah, I saw some people on the old Bird app, on the old X.com, saying
It's no longer the Bird app.
Well, yeah, and I'll die with it being the Bird app.
It's the Bird
Yeah,
app.
it's
It's the Bird
It's
app.
always Twitter. But yeah, I saw them on there talking about, the Reds turned it around. Well, this is what the Reds do. They were never going to lose a lot of games in a row. They already did that once earlier in the year.
Correct.
They lost their 3 in a row. Now they're going to win 4 of 7. And then they're going to lose 4 of 7.
They're only capable of losing how many games they've won
That's
in the
exactly
prior
right.
stretch. That's the max.
That's right.
You win 15 in a row, you lose 15 in a row. But if you only win 4 in a row, you're only going to lose 4 in a row. Win 4 in a row, you're only going to lose 4 in a row. So that's it. That's the theme of the season. But yeah, sure, it was a fun little game. Good for them.
It was. 3
Getting a
doubles in a
win.
row was a good time.
Yes, 3 doubles in a row. I was running on the elliptical last night. And I outwardly cheered in my little thing, or in my little gym.
So we can all agree Ty France is a part of the core now, right?
Yeah, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely, and it saves money for next year as well. Cheap
Well-
option. Well,
Maybe not. Extension?
big extension.
Big extension.
5 years. Can't be worse than Candelario. So sure, let's
Ooh.
sign him.
Oh, man, you guys soured on Candy.
Well, he's been the
bad.
worst qualified player since the All-Star break. His OBP is 275.
But he hits the ball a long way sometimes.
That's right.
He does.
And that
He-
Mickey Mouse ballpark you guys got.
That's right. He does hit it for power every once in a while. Yeah, I'm not back, but at the same time, my whole thing was every Reds fan deserves to be happy. When we've had what we've had over the last 30 years, you deserve to get excited for wins. I don't mean to come on here and be a Debbie Downer every single show. So if we win a game in Toronto, cheer for it. It's this season might not go where we want, but who knows? Maybe it does. Maybe they go on some miracle run. Stay positive. That's all I got. It's take every little win and take it with a grain of salt, but at the same time, why not have a little bit of excitement in an 162-game season with your favorite team?
Yeah, there's not a single thing they can do to get me back in, I think.
I don't
but
think
I'm
so
still
at this
going to be
point.
happy when they win games.
Trace had a whole thing on his, and I feel bad for Trace. He went on a whole thing. What was that? The third game of the sweep in St. Louis.
That's right.
I'm all the way back. Nothing they can do will get me off this wagon. They can disappoint me, but I'll be all the way back. And what happens? They got him off it, and that's unfortunate. But at the same time,
Took 3 games to get him off it.
Yeah, 3 horrible games.
The 3 worst games of the year.
But yeah, again, am I back? No, they look fine. There's a couple standouts from the game I'll talk about during the headlines. But yeah, good for Aguiar in his debut.
That's right.
I thought he was serviceable.
Fine. He was fine.
And the bullpen, God love them, they still do their job. Every night in, night out, the Cincinnati bullpen's always there to help.
Alexis Diaz either had a really funny bit or he's lost. Because on the ground ball to second base to end the game, the last out of the game, he pointed to the sky like it was sent to the upper deck. And either it was really funny,
Yeah.
or he has no idea what's going on.
Do you think that he was pointed up because it was the last out and he thought he was getting the save?
Maybe, but you can't create your own save situation. So that home run's
Oh,
not
that's
getting
true.
him a save.
That's true.
Boy, I think you can.
No, you can't.
No, you can't create your own.
Are you sure about that?
Almost positive.
I don't think
Unless
you're.
I'm wrong.
I don't think you guys are right on that one. I think
you
if
can't.
if you come in with a 4-run lead
And then
give
you
up a
give
run,
up a home run.
almost positive.
It used to be that it had to be the tying run had to.
He did not get a save last night.
Damn.
Yeah, you can't create your own save. It used to be that you had to have the tying run come to the plate. So as long as the tying run came to the plate, which is why it's 3 runs, it's 3 outs and stuff like that. But you can't create your own save. The save rule is silly. It's a silly rule. My favorite is when if you come in with a lead and you throw 3 innings, regardless of the lead,
I love that one.
and
That's
you finish
my favorite
the game,
rule in baseball.
you get a save. So the famous one is when the Rangers beat the Orioles 30-3. There was a save in that game.
Hell yeah.
There was a save because, as we all know, that's a high leverage situation. Some rules in sports in baseball, particularly, are silly.
In MLB The Show, I set a record with my closer. I forget which one. It was like in 20. I want to say it was the 2015 MLB The Show.
Congratulations.
100?
Huh?
100?
I got as many saves as I could using that method. I don't know if we got to 100, but it was very fun.
I've been in my adult baseball league. I've been trying to get the win and the save.
Impressive.
I've been trying to go 7 innings. Take me out for the 8th. I'll come back in for the 9th and get 3 outs.
I like that.
That'd be pretty impressive.
But I don't think scoring works like that. But it should. It should. Just give me what I want.
They
Gosh
didn't pick
darn
up.
it.
Did they pick up a half game yesterday in the wild card?
They were the only team that played. Right? Like, they're the only team that
I
played.
I
think-
think 5.5. The Reds.
Oh, they got a half.
Oh!
They got a half.
Look at that.
Tied with the Cubs right now. Exact same record in the division. Tied for 3rd place. So,
Pretty cool when you win games and gain ground.
That's right.
according to ESPN, the Reds have a 2.1% probability of making the postseason.
Love it.
Only 6
Leave me a
teams
crack in the door, I'll kick it open.
Bet
baby.
It is funny when we talk about, because you don't want to kill a
Windows
season until
open
it's
my whole
dead.
career.
Correct.
You don't want to pull the plug when something's still alive, and when you're looking at it and you're 5.5 back with 6 weeks to play, that's not the craziest thing that's happened in baseball.
No.
That's certainly not. The problem is, this is where the problem is that there are 7 teams in front of it.
That's right.
There's the majority of the league in front of them. In fact, there are fewer teams behind them than there are in front of them. So it's a tough hill to climb, asking for 8 teams to play bad. I keep using 8. I don't know the exact number, but you're asking a bunch of teams to play bad while you play good. It's not like we've seen crazy division races where a team's been up 8 games in the final month and they blow it. They blow it. I think that happened in the NL East back like in 2009. I know the Cubs did it back in '69 when a black cat ran on the field, part of the big lore of the Chicago Cubs. A black cat ran on the field, and they blew us like a 7-game lead in the NL East to the Mets, and the Mets go on and win the World Series thanks to some plucky little reliever known as Nolan Ryan. He was making $3,000 that year. But yeah, beside the point.
Well, it's the Braves that are occupying the third one, and I'm not going to bet against the Braves. I don't care who they've got on their roster. I know they've been destroyed by injuries. But at the end of the day, I mean, it's going to be tough to come back against the Mets and the Giants. I think we can come back against the Cardinals and Cubs, but I don't see a world where we're in that hunt for the wild card late September. I just don't think it's going to happen. And for that reason, it's hard for me to get excited about games. But nonetheless, I truly don't mean to be down all the time and say don't get excited over wins. When you win a game, be excited. If you win the series tonight with if you win this series with Carson, Spiers, in a bullpen game, you should feel proud about that on the road. So I'm hoping that's what happened, because God knows we don't win game 3s, but let's win game 2 tonight and go from there. Take one series at a time. Padres won 8 series in a row. Why can't we?
Yeah, it's shout out to the Padres and the Diamondbacks. Well, the Padres were always sitting up there, but the Diamondbacks were done.
Right.
Yeah.
They looked bad. They're I think they had like a 5-team ERA. Like they weren't getting it done on the mound, and their star players that you expected to have a step up from a great season last year were really struggling. Corbin Carroll and company, and yeah, now they look pretty comfy in that wild card spot. The Cubs just DFA'd Hector Neris.
Really?
That's crazy.
Right
Why not
now?
trade him at the deadline? What are we doing? What?
Just DFA him?
Just DFA the closer.
He has a lot of wins, though.
What's his ERA?
What?
Reed spiraling now.
Are we is it time for a break? Can we take a break and have a headlines here? But golly,
Hector Neris, real quick. Hector Neris.
he hasn't been great.
His last 7 games, he's been terrible.
Yeah, he's not
In
been
his
good.
last 15 games, he's been better. And then his last 30 games, again, pretty much terrible.
I mean, he's got
a lot of decisions.
But
Yeah,
if he's
well,
the
he's-
closer, he's the closer.
He's got a 3.8 ERA. He's got a 3.8 ERA. He hasn't been great. You guys always complain about Alexis Diaz.
Is a
walking guy.
1.5 whip good?
No, it's not great. Unless you're in the Cincinnati Adult Baseball League, then it's fantastic.
It's incredible.
But yeah, man, that's crazy. Why not trade it? I don't get it. That's beside the point. The Reds get a win. We're gonna take a break. When we come back, we're gonna do Elliot's headlines, and we'll talk a little bit more about the Reds, and we'll just go around the sports before we get to the quarterback tagline segment. Quick tease on that. I'm gonna give you what I think the theme, the tagline of different quarterbacks in the NFL should be this year. And then later on in the show, we're going to talk about the whole Trevor Bauer, Joey Votto thing. I know that's what everyone wants to talk about, and we've got some very opinionated takes. Some people feel justified based off of, I think both sides feel justified in what came out from that Trevor Bauer. The people that want Trevor Bauer there around or feel kind of vindicated, and the people like me who necessarily didn't like the human being that is Trevor Bauer, I feel like I got some validation as well. We're going to take a short break when we come back here on 1410 Wing AM Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers.
First one went long, though.
And we are back on Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers. I'm Reed Mouse, hosting in for Justin Kinder today. Thank you so much, Justin, for letting me take this seat. Are you guys warming up to Kinder yet? You guys are so mean to my boy. You guys are so mean in the chat to my boy Justin. He does a fantastic job, except for when he kicks me off the show. That's not so much fun. But as we do every single day, Elliot's going to take us through the headlines. The headlines around the worldwide of sports.
So Jacob just broke something.
He's got another
Joey
headline.
Votto, David Bell, and leading off the bench with top headlines.
That's true. I do love David. I do love David Bell and Joey Votto.
We're not doing David Bell today.
So it says he was cleared, right? That's what I'm seeing.
Okay.
So
Hector Neris has already been released.
We've moved on.
I'm talking about something else. I probably should talk about what I'm talking about. So Yannick Sinner, for those of you who don't care about tennis or know tennis,
He's the world number one.
he's the world number one. He won the Cincinnati Open yesterday afternoon. Apparently, he tested positive for steroids earlier on, but it said he's been cleared after testing positive for steroids.
So never mind. Maybe he ate one of those Noelvi burgers.
Yeah, I don't know. It was just some bad beef. Listen, I don't know about you, but I've had some bad beef in my life, and it just causes me to play better baseball. But here we go. Anyway, I'm going to have to read more into that. I wish I could read more into that now.
Yeah.
Headlines. The Reds, as we talked about, did win a game. They won 6-3, game 1. Again, Julian Aguiar was great, solid. 4 innings, 4 hits, 2 earned run, and a couple of strikeouts. He was pretty serviceable. Santillion, Moll, Farmer, Wilson, Diaz all closed out the game, helped close out the game. TJ Friedl has been playing much better baseball as he hit another home run. 3 for 4 on the night. In his last 15 games, TJ is hitting .302 with a .350 OBP, slugging .600. He has 5 home runs during that stretch. It's a guy we've missed. It's a guy we haven't had for a majority of the season, haven't had a majority of the season healthy. So, again, I'm not an excuse guy, but if I were an excuse guy, I'd say, why hasn't this team been very good this year? Because guys like TJ Friedl haven't been healthy and available for a large majority of this season. He's been a difference maker since he's been healthy and available.
I think it's pretty obvious that, and I know you guys, I'm not breaking new ground when I say this, but it's pretty obvious that when TJ goes, the Reds go.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like, he's the, you want to talk about cliches, he's the spark plug. But, like,
the
he
leader.
kind of is.
He's what they say India is.
Yeah, he probably. Well, I don't know. He's the leader. He's one of the leaders.
What was he, a 5-WAR player last year?
Yeah.
Don't belittle a 5-WAR player. There's like 10 guys a year that get that. And that was TJ Friedl last year.
Didn't ground into a double play at all last season, which is pretty incredible.
That's
You know who does ground in double plays?
No, I don't know. Don't even say it.
You know what's also funny? I don't know if you have anything else about the Reds, but
I do.
You know, this is all right. We'll go on.
No, it's okay. You can talk.
Well, here's what I was just gonna say is we've been interviewing social media interns. We've been taking guys to help ease the load on the whole social media stuff, and we'll be hiring a couple here soon, just to help. They'll be working remote. But we talked to one yesterday. And I just thought this was funny. I'm not saying this to stir the pot or anything along the lines, but one of the questions that the candidate asked is, how do you guys, if you guys are hiring a bunch of different interns, how do you guys push out the same message? And the first thing that came in my mind is, man, if they want a coherent, same message, this company is not here. Because you watch the night show talk about the Cincinnati Reds, then you watch the morning show talk about the Cincinnati Reds. That's not the same message coming out the same way.
Very different shows.
Very different messages pointed out. So it was a great question by the candidate that we just shrugged our shoulders at. We're like, hey, you're not getting that here. You're getting different messages here, but that's okay.
Should we try to align our messages more?
No, I think so. What happens is when I take over the Reds Twitter for the night, it's basically I play into every one of my bits, and I know Nick might not like that, but I have to do it. Whenever Jonathan India gets on base, I have to make it a big deal. So yeah, it's just silly. Whenever Jacob does his thing,
I can't do it. You're so much fun.
He makes fun of me when he does. He just puts pictures of Redzilla when a Red does something good in there. So. Which is fun. That's the message. Just have some fun. Ty France as a Red. Jacob mentioned Ty France. He's hitting .278, 316 OBP, 519 slugging percentage. He added 2 more hits last night with 2 RBIs. He's been very, very good. If there's ever been a guy that we could have picked up that could have been as serviceable as him, I'm glad he did it.
Important to remember it was a trade.
That's right. It was a trade.
Because he got DFA'd and then we traded him.
Cash considerations?
I believe so, my dear friend. We got him back, too.
Go Cash, go. Reds and Blue Jays back at it tonight. Carson Spiers is taking on Jose Berrios. Spiers a 4.55 ERA and a 1.29 WHIP. Berrios has a 3.85 and a 1.18 WHIP. As I mentioned before, if you're able to win this series with Carson Spiers in a bullpen game, feel proud about it. I don't think the Blue Jays
respect the Julian Aguiar start.
Correct. I will respect it. I don't think the Blue Jays are as bad as their record says they are. I think they've got a ton of talent on that team. I think their pitching staff is better than they've performed this year.
Chris Bassett was on a podcast, and they asked him why the Blue Jays have underperformed this year, and he said that if he's going to be transparent, they had $700 million in the Shohei Ohtani basket, and he did not come.
Yeah.
So he said that's why the Blue Jays have been underperforming.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. Does as a team, golly, how am I going to do this? Because this sounds like something that someone who would hate the Bengals would say about the Bengals. But you know where I stand about the Cincinnati Reds, so I'll just lay it out there. Do the Blue Jays scare you as Reds fans? A lot of young talent from a couple years ago, and it seems like that whole thing is kind of at a fork in the road.
There's a lot of examples of that, but I'm going to keep saying Orioles. So
I'm not going to be worried about it yet. I also think they were damaged by how good that division is.
There's no doubt about that.
That's the best. I mean, that's the best division I've seen ever. So I don't know. I don't write too much into it. I think they're better than what their record says they are. And
my favorite was when the Blue Jays in the 2000s would win like 88 games every year and be 16 games away from the postseason.
Yeah.
It's just like, that's just tough. That's just tough sled.
The only thing I would have been worried about for if I was a Blue Jays fan is when I heard Vladdy walk back his comment saying, you know what, playing for the Yankees wouldn't be that bad. Maybe I'd like that. When he said that earlier on in the year, that's when I would get a little concerned.
I like when the Blue Jays have a new prospect come up and it's just some former player's son.
Yeah.
And it's just like I'm not saying this to be funny. Was that a very cognitive thing the team did? They're like, hey, yeah, Craig Biggio, his son's probably pretty good. Vladdy Jr., like, we're just going to take these Hall of Famers. Dante Bichette wasn't a Hall of Famer, but we're going to get his son, too. Who's the one that just played for them? It was a former pitcher's son, Billy Wagner. Will Wagner's playing for them right now. He's their second baseman. And that's Billy Wagner's son. And it's just like,
I think it's a good method to have.
It's not a terrible one.
Jackson Holiday, that's kind of working out right now, right?
Good pedigree, sure, no doubt about it. Listen, the one draft that Jackson, it was what? Andrew Jones, Jackson Holiday, like maybe that's a good way to go. It's never the elite. It's like, well, Vladdy Jr.'s son's obviously, Vladdy Sr. was Hall of Famer, and Greg Biggio, obviously Cavan hasn't had quite the career that they expected of him, but it's always the all-stars. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's never the Hall of Famer sons that turn out to be fantastic. Like, Bobby Bonds was a perennial all-star. Barry Bonds, best hitter maybe ever.
Yeah.
Ken Griffey Sr., perennial all-star, wasn't a Hall of Famer. His son turns out to be something great. It's not Joe Morgan's son. It's not Johnny Bench's son that turns to be it's always the all-star. It's never the Hall of Famer. I just think that's interesting.
Barry Larkin's son, Shane. Great career at Miami.
That's right.
Went to Dallas. I don't think he was very good there, but
Pete Rose Jr.
What was it?
Pete Rose Jr. played like 10 games for the Reds.
Pete Rose, like the fourth or something, is St. X's quarterback.
Really?
Yeah.
How about that?
Yeah.
Gambling ring, maybe? Maybe. Around the league.
I like that there's no ego there.
No.
It's just like, hey, we got to keep this name going as long as possible.
Yeah.
Dodgers, they blanked the Mariners 3-0. Max Muncy hit a home run in his return to action. He has been gone since mid-May. May 15th, I think, was his last game. The Giants beat the White Sox 5-3. White Sox are sad. Athletic shut out the Rays 3-0. J.J. Bleday hit a 2-run shot in the first, which was more than enough to beat the Rays. The Rays... by the way, the Athletics, good for them. I mean, I know they're not having a good year by any means, but they're fighting. That's a competitive baseball team.
Yeah.
They fight.
They have some pieces.
They fight.
I think if you take out their April, they are above 500.
Really?
Wow.
Yes. I think if you take out like the start of the season, I'm gonna let me double check that real quick. But I think they put runs up on the board.
They're 500 at home.
They have the 3 highest scored games this season. They've scored the most runs in a game 3 times this season. That's higher than anybody else. So
I mean, they're the fifth worst team in the league. Let's not.
Yeah, but here's the thing. They're fighting. They compete.
I couldn't have been more wrong. In May and June, they were 16 and 39.
What's the record?
They're almost 20 games below. They're 54 and 71.
It's much worse than I thought.
Like, they're a bad
they had
team.
60
But
wins.
since I saw something,
Mason
I
Miller's fun.
actually retweeted it.
Brent Rooker
Very
doesn't care
fun.
about your parlays.
No.
It was from like June 18th. Since June 18th, Oakland has the 3rd best record in the American League.
Okay.
That's 2 months of baseball.
I'm right then. I stand by my point. The Padres, they beat the Twins 5-3. Jackson Merrill, a 3-run double clinched that game.
He he's a rookie of the year caliber player that has zero chance of winning, sadly. He's very good.
Do you think it's? I mean,
It's Skeens.
I know it's Skeens, but I don't think it's as far of a gap.
You're probably right.
I don't think it's as
Jackson
far of a
Merrill's
gap.
been unbelievable.
But he's been great.
I don't know how to do this without sounding like a hater once again here.
Well,
But
you
I'm
are
gonna
a
do
hater,
it.
so.
I'm just gonna lean into
Just
it.
sound like a
See,
hater.
that's where some people go wrong with
Yeah.
like the Bengals stuff. Is they like
Some
they-
people.
well, I was saying like. You know what? It's every host we've had on this show. It's they try to
you're
act
right.
they try to act like they don't hate the Bengals, and then like it happens and it goes on.
What?
But how many National League Rookie of the Years or rookies this year would have won over Jonathan India his rookie year?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
I was gonna say,
And I wasn't
'cause-
counting Michael Bush.
Well, I was gonna count Michael.
I was counting Shota and not Michael Bush.
Okay. Well, like
I don't
yeah.
like this game.
Well, I mean,
It's
like
kind of a fun game.
like Paul Skeens would,
not
Jackson
diminish our
Merrill
rookie of
would,
the
Ty
year.
Fitzgerald would,
Churio,
Churio would,
Mason Wynn,
Mason Wynn probably would.
100%.
And you know what? Give me both. Michael Bush. I mean, Jonathan India had 20 home runs. Bush
Right.
is going to end up right around there, but Bush is a like bona fide Gold Glove candidate over there at first base. So like,
I was also wrong. Skeens and Merrill. Skeens minus 120, Merrill minus 105. So like it's even closer than I
Skeens
thought.
has cooled off a little bit. So
Jonathan India, good baseball player. Astros, they walked off the Red Sox. Yanier Diaz home run, 5-4 the final score. The Pirates, go Pirates, go! God, they know how to finish a season. They lose yet again. This time to the Rangers, 4-3 the final. Corey Seager hit 2 home runs in that one. Raise the Jolly Roger. I'm going to continue. Mets hit a walk-off against the Orioles, 4-3 the final score. Francisco Alvarez was the hero on a 3-0 pitch. Swing 3-0. That's the lesson I've always learned. And the Diamondbacks, they win yet again, 9-6 over the Marlins. They have a rookie, Del Castillo. He has been unbelievable to start his rookie career. He hit a grand slam, his very first grand slam last night, and drove in 6 runs just for the fun of it. So Diamondbacks might be hot yet again. Corbin Carroll's been playing a lot better, so I don't know. Diamondbacks are scary if their pitching staff is able to get healthy and good. NFL news. This is the last couple of headlines here before we have to go to break, but NFL said moving kickoff touchbacks to the 35-yard line isn't likely this year. It'll probably happen next year, or I think is basically the gist of what they said. That would be insane, by the way. Kickoff or a touchback to the 35.
It's just your will turn everything.
Yeah, I guess. Tua called out Brian Flores in an interview yesterday, saying he was a little too harsh, little too mean to Tua. Mike McDaniel, I guess, has got it figured out. And finally, not really a headline, but I saw it, so I'm going to read it. The Bills suffered a couple setbacks. Mitch Trubisky is now hurt. MVS is now hurt, both likely to miss several weeks.
I remember when Brian Flores got fired because they just came off a winning season. No,
Yep.
I think that was back in the 16. It was they were 9-7 or what it was, and everyone's like wondering what's going on. I wonder if it did set a precedent to where, hey, I mean, this is our franchise quarterback. We're gonna back our franchise quarterback, not our NFL coach that just came, I think, back-to-back winning seasons. So it's just that situation's a little interesting. Does it make Tua come off as the older generation would say, quote unquote, soft? Does Tua come off as that with the?
Yeah.
I don't think you think so.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't think so. I think it makes Flores look terrible.
So I could not have taken it a different way.
I
think it
think-
made Flores
I-
look like a good coach.
I think honestly, I think it justifies the Miami firing of him, and maybe that was the plan all along to have Tua start talking the curse word. I was going to say sh, but I didn't finish it. I was going to say it because we're on the radio. But nonetheless, when he was talking, I just think it makes Flores seem like, I don't know, maybe he wasn't the right fit in Miami.
I feel like Tua is not very good and shouldn't have been paid like a quarterback one, and Flores was telling it how it is. I think
Yeah, but I think how many guys shouldn't be paid like a quarterback one like that? I don't know. So I think you have to pay a guy like that.
No, I understand, but that's the GM's job and coach's job. I don't know. I have no issue with football coaches telling guys that aren't good enough they're not good enough when they're not good enough.
Will, here's a fun question, and I don't know how much time we have in this segment. Maybe it's no time, but do you think that because the Tua stuff, Dak Prescott's going to get $60 million, Trevor Lawrence, all these contracts. Last year we saw elite guys get contracts, Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, guys like that. This year we're seeing good quarterbacks, no doubt. Tua's a good quarterback. You can't deny that. Dak Prescott's a good quarterback. You can't deny that. You're seeing these guys get extensions. Do you think that the fact that you pay an elite quarterback and a good quarterback the same amount of money will only separate the gap between the teams that have the good quarterback and the elite quarterback? Like, this is a good thing. Everyone wanted to make fun of the Joe Burrow contract. Oh, you got the most expensive guy in football. He better play like it. And here we are in year 2. It already looks like a bargain. Everyone wants to go, I can't believe Patrick Mahomes is making that money. It's already looks like a bargain. I think that it's going to continue to grow the gap between the elite teams, or at least the teams with an elite quarterback, and the teams with quote-unquote good quarterbacks. I think it's just I think it's going to be an incredibly interesting thing to see. We talk about the bubbles. We talk about, there's a bubble in the housing market. There's a bubble in this. There's a bubble in I think there's 2 bubbles right now, and that's the good quarterback bubble, and that's the wide receiver bubble. And it's interesting what's going to happen with the Cincinnati Bengals in regards to the wide receiver bubble. But we got to take a break. When we come back, we are going to talk about quarterback taglines. Kind of a tagline I have for a bunch of different quarterbacks this season. And then we're going to talk about the Trevor Bauer, Joey Votto stuff later on in the show. I'm Reed Mouse. You're watching Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers.
Hey, we're going to do ads a little early and get them out of the way so we don't have to worry about those ads anymore. Time to pay the bills around here. Pawnee Water. This lovely bottle of water right here. It's made right here in Hamilton, Ohio. I don't know if you guys knew that or not, but it is. Has the most healthy alkaline water in the world, and it's because of its natural limestone filtration, unlike the artificial processing that other brands use. And you know what? You should go check them out at pawneewater.com, PAHHNI water.com. See where you can buy this great tasting water. It just goes down the gullet nice and smooth. Ain't that right, Elliot?
That's right. Smoothness. When I drink Pawnee water, I feel infinitely better.
Me too.
Infinitely.
We went through that last shipment that they sent us like within a week or 2. I need more.
It's so good.
More.
It also reminds me of one of my favorite TV shows, Parks and Recreation, because the town that they reside in that show,
Elliot, it's not even close.
is Pawnee, Indiana.
But this is Pawnee water.
I'm aware.
It's not
I'm
Pawnee
aware. But it just reminds me.
All right, salmon.
Can it remind? That's not nearly the same thing. Salmon is
Right, it's
far
not even
worse
close.
than Pawnee and Pawnee.
You just said 2 different words.
It's different spellings, but it's the same sounds.
Are you a Parks and Rec fan that gets offended when a guy like me calls it an Office ripoff?
No, because I'm an Office first guy, so I think it is an Office ripoff, and
It's clearly an Office ripoff.
well, it's the
it
the
is.
writers and creators of The Office.
Right,
They
they just made the same show again with a different
If it ain't
situation.
broke, don't fix it.
And sometimes
that's
I'll
right.
say that it's an Office ripoff, and they're like, "No, it's better than The Office, or it's just as good, or it's still a great show." And it's like, yeah, like that's all well and dandy, but it's the same thing as The Office, just a different setting.
It's
Like,
the best sequel of all time.
It is.
I don't get
I think
why
it's
it has
funny.
to be a negative connotation either. Like,
Right.
It could be a
well,
compliment.
the phrase "ripoff" is a little leading towards negative connotation, but it is what you want to call it
Inspired by
an
Yeah.
Office.
shot for shot remake.
I don't know.
It was supposed to be. That show is supposed to be set in the same world as
It
The
is.
Office. It's not
Oh,
because
it was.
because Rashida Jones is a member of is a cast member of Parks and Rec, and she played Karen Filippelli in The Office.
No.
So they couldn't
Witness protection.
witness protection.
That's
Well,
right.
either
Andy works for the FBI. He's watching her the whole time.
You're
Come
right.
on.
You're
Come
right.
on.
Burt Macklin. But I just remember they were gonna do it. One of those, like remember when Disney would do like Hannah Montana and That's
Yeah.
So Raven and everything. They were gonna do an Office and Parks and Rec episode where they joined.
Imagine Sweet Life on Deck, but it's
Oh
like
yeah.
but it's like
The
Dwight
Jimmy
in the
Timmy
hole.
Power Hour?
Yeah, that was great. I think
The half
I
that
think
was animated.
The Leslie Michael Scott Power Hour?
I think New Girl did it with Brooklyn Nine-Nine.
That's right.
So I think they did a little. But anyway, Pawnee water, great water because it reminds me of good things.
Absolutely.
What an ad
Absolutely.
read.
What an ad read we got there for Pawnee. The Bengals Report is proudly sponsored by Encore Technologies. At Encore Technologies, they deliver cutting-edge IT solutions for a data-driven world. From mobile computing and desktop support to advanced data center solutions, they help businesses enhance efficiency and
Productivity.
Productivity.
That's right, Jimbos. Visit encore.tech where your path to innovation begins. Here, there, everywhere, but mainly here. Right here. Game Time, our ticketing sponsor for Chatterbox Sports. It's one of the best apps out there. You get to see exactly where you're sitting. It's one of the most fluid apps. It's only a few clicks. The pricing's all up front, and tickets are available right up until very like game time. You get game time deals. It's like right at first pitch. Just check it out and see if you can find any great deals. They have game time pick filters, kind of help you sort through all the fluff that is available. They got super deals, hot deals, things like that for different events that you should also check out because they come every once in a while and they give you really good deals. Simple as that. Download Game Time app today. Create an account and use code OTB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code OTB for $20 off your first purchase. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. Love Game Time. I personally use it now all the time for any Reds game I go to. They always have great deals for Reds tickets. I'm going to be buying some Bengals tickets here in the near future. They're like as low as like $100, which you're not going to get better deals than that at this moment moving forward. I mean, as soon as the season kicks off, they're going to be rocketing up. So check out Game Time right now. They have great deals going on for lots of different Bengals tickets. They kind of alternate. I've been noticing they've been alternating the deals for the different types of games. Like they had deals going on for the Eagles at Eagles game, which is the whiteout game, right? And I think they have deals now for the orange out game with the Patriots. So whenever those announcements kind of come around, that's when they usually bring out those deals. But
no joke, that app, the Game Time app, is so much better than I won't mention them because this is a Game Time ad.
Yeah,
we prefer Game Time. But if you were
allowed to
going to
say
use one of the other ones that's blue and has a T on it,
not allowed
that
to
one
do that.
stinks.
Yeah, you're not allowed
That
to
one
say that.
stinks. It lags the prices. It'll tell you it's one price, and then it'll raise the prices by $50, maybe more. Game Time, you just know what the price is. It tells me what it is. It's black and green, the greatest colors ever. So that's what it is. The app's much better.
you guys need to get on those emails. You're not allowed to do that for these ads.
For do what?
What you just did. You're not,
What did I do?
You're not allowed to do that.
What did I do?
I'm just telling you right now. You're not allowed to do that. Anyways,
At what
thank
point-
you to
What did
Game
I do?
Time for your sponsorship. We really appreciate it.
At what point in your rant when Casey's just going, you're not allowed doing that, you're not allowed doing that, you're not allowed doing that, did you think, hey, maybe I should stop doing this?
What did I do?
You're not allowed mentioning other apps.
You're not
I
allowed-
didn't.
Yes, you
You
did.
did. You're not allowed to do that.
Okay.
We got in trouble for that.
Really?
Yes.
All right. Well, then I take it back.
Oh, well.
Well, then he took it back. It's good. We're good.
That's right.
Oh,
I
well.
wasn't on the emails.
Oh, well. It's all right. I'll do a better job next time stopping you. Anyways, thank you to Game Time. We really appreciate you. Maybe we can just cut that out. Before we post
We'll
it,
cut it
so.
out. Here's the. I've told this story so many times, and it's truly it's a testament A to how great of an app Game Time is. B to how good the Bengals have become. But the year that the Bengals went to the Super Bowl, I went down to Paycor, and I bought tickets a couple days in advance. I got them cheap as can be on Game Time, like $30. I was walking into the stadium. We were playing the Vikings week 1. First week of the season, beautiful day like it is today. And I bought tickets for $15. walking into the stadium. If the Bengals ever have $15 tickets again, we're not going to be having a good time. We're not going to be having a lot of fun as Bengals fans. But hopefully two things can happen at the same time. Hopefully the Bengals win Super Bowls and tickets are $15. Let's live in that delirious world. Any other thoughts before we get back to this?
Just other housekeeping items. Don't forget to hit the like button. Share the show with a friend. It helps us grow.
That's right.
Helps us bring more viewers like you. Thank you.
Thank you. That was good. I like ending it with that. I really do. That's the best way to end this. The PBS, make PBS great again.
Make PBS great again. I don't know if it was ever gone. I think it is great.
I think it's gone now, isn't it?
What?
Is PBS gone?
I don't
The
think
public
it's gone.
broadcasting system? I doubt it.
No.
I don't think it's gone. It's still.
Well, I know they ended Arthur. Once they end Arthur,
That's the whole
Oh,
network.
yeah,
That's
was it.
PBS. It's Bob Ross and Arthur. That's what I think of, at least.
Was Bob Ross on PBS?
I don't know.
I
That
think
was a
probably-
dangerous poll.
Probably should have double checked.
yeah. Yeah.
That's it. Let's go back to Radio World.
Yeah. Oh well. All right. We're gonna take a break. When we come back, we'll talk.
The real SeatGeeks like use game time.
Welcome back to Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers. Thank you, very thankful to our sponsors, all everyone that sponsored this show, and 1410 Way In, Justin Kinner out, Reed Mouse in here. It is segment 4. We got Jacob Tissett, Elliot Rearing, Casey McAllister in the room. Here's what I'm gonna lay out. You know, when I host, I get to do fun things and bring new segments in. This I didn't have a fun name for it, quarterback taglines, and this is simply what I'm gonna do. I'm going to bring up a quarterback, and I'm going to give kind of a tagline for the season. I don't want to call it an elevator pitch. I just want to say what I think that's going to happen with this quarterback in one sentence. If I had to describe this quarterback sentence or this quarterback season, or for one of the guys the rest of their career, in fact, it's the first one, the rest of their career, I would sum it up in this sentence. So, Jacob, do you have do we got the singular? Or
Have them all.
All right. You wanna do the first one?
Boom.
Patrick Mahomes gets the Brady, but, and what I mean by that is Patrick Mahomes. All of last year, we talked about, man, the Chiefs don't look very good. The Chiefs aren't any good anymore. They're terrible. This whole thing has gone out. This isn't the Chiefs of old. And what they do, they went out and won the Super Bowl, back-to-back Super Bowl champs. So now, regardless of what happens with Patrick Mahomes, he'll have the exact same thing that Tom Brady got at the end of his career, which is, but maybe it's deserving, but the Chiefs could start 0-4 and look terrible, look so bad, and we will continue to give them a passing grade. And this is coming from the guy that has ranted and raved about how great Patrick Mahomes is. I think he's the second greatest quarterback at this very moment, with a very real shot at being the greatest quarterback this league, this sport has ever seen. But he'll always get the Brady but. Because what did we do at the end of, after Tom Brady won with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? They were good the next year. But the year after that, his final year, they were terrible. 8-9, they escaped in because they played in a terrible division, and they still won, or they still made the postseason despite going under 500. And we kept saying, like, all right, are you counting out Tom Brady in this Buccaneers team? That's what we're going to do with the Kansas City Chiefs. I'm not insinuating that the Chiefs are going to be bad this year. Don't get it like that. What I'm telling you is that it doesn't matter what the Chiefs look like. It doesn't matter what the Chiefs do. We will always, because he's earned this, he has earned this. I'm not saying it's necessarily the wrong thing. I'm just telling you how it is. He will always get are you going to count out Patrick Mahomes? Are you going to count out the Chiefs? They can go in 8-9, win their division. It's a bad year for the division. Are you going to count out the Chiefs? Are you going to count out Andy Reid, Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce? Are you going to count out this team? So Patrick Mahomes gets the Brady, but any comments, concerns, disagreements, or you think that's the way it's going to be?
I think it's pretty head on. I'm really excited to not believe in the Chiefs if that opportunity presents itself, because I don't think anyone else will take that side. Yeah, I mean, that last Brady-Bucks team was pretty bad at almost everything. And as soon as they made the playoffs, it was just, let's bet on the Bucks because they have Tom Brady. So
Yeah, I think
agree.
I think that's
Mahomes.
fair.
I think Mahomes is going to get ridiculous levels of recognition and respect and never any doubt anymore for the next decade or so. And I think that's...
It's because of what happened.
100%.
It's because of, and this is why we gave Tom Brady maybe the 7th Super Bowl is what gave it to him.
Yeah.
But it's because everyone doubted them. Everyone did. Everyone said this team doesn't look very good. This team, I don't take this team seriously. I mean, there was people betting the Dolphins in negative weather playing in Arrowhead Stadium in the postseason. What a buffoon you were if you took that line. But, yeah, I mean, it's because that they have been burnt now by Patrick Mahomes for years. Everyone wants to say, he immediately gets lumped in with Aaron Rodgers. Oh, why are we doing this? Aaron Rodgers is an all-time great. Why are we giving Patrick Mahomes? Well, then he wins the Super Bowl. Anyone's a third. And then the third time you're like, well, they don't look very good. Then they win. And now, it doesn't matter what they do. He's going to get the Brady. But, Casey, anything to add on?
I mean, you guys probably know that I'm the biggest Mahomes doubter in here. I'm not much of a doubter anymore. Personally, if I start seeing cracks and flaws within his game, I'm going to start questioning him naturally. But I think he's just basically earned my respect. Like, at some point when you win 2 in a row and you're on a good roster and you have potential to win a third, like, you just kind of – you can't start doubting more. I mean, you've doubted for 2 years in a row, and he's proven you wrong every single time, and now he's got a chance to do it a third time. I'm just not going to be on that side anymore. Just not going to do it. Just not going to do it.
Last year's playoff run was
I was the Mahomes guy last year.
Yeah.
So
you were.
We're going.
well, I was just going to say, last year's playoff run was like the definition of this, just because I think it was like, he hasn't had a great year. The defense maybe or maybe wasn't carrying that team all the way to the finish line. You lose a couple silly games. The trick plays were kind of getting silly when you played the Raiders on that Christmas game. I don't know. I think if there were any doubts last year, that was put to bed, and now it's just Patrick Mahomes is the guy. I'm not saying I like Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs, but I respect the hell out of what he does. He's the most talented quarterback I've ever seen in my entire life. So, I agree with you.
They start off with the Ravens and the Bengals in the first 2 weeks. It would be kind of cool if they start 0-2 just to see it come to play.
Who are you rooting for in that first game? I've been thinking about this a lot.
I'm not going to answer that question.
The answer's Chiefs.
I don't know.
It's the Chiefs.
It is the Chiefs.
We got to win our division, gentlemen.
No,
But I'm confident we're going to win the division.
You're confident we're going to win the division?
Incredibly confident we're going to win the division. I'm more thinking 1 seed. You get the Chiefs an extra loss in the conference early.
All right. I don't know.
That's my split.
I just know what we did in the division last year. I know what we were missing, and I know what went wrong last
You
year.
can win the division going like 2-4 in the division.
You can win the division going 2-4 in the division. No, you can't.
Yeah, you can if you win 10
No,
other
you can't.
games
They went 3-3 the one year.
and then won the division.
Well, I think 3-3 is majorly different than 2-2.
Like 12-5, 13-4 wins the division.
All right.
That would mean they would only lose to their division opponents, basically.
Right.
But,
Right.
yeah.
All right, coming in with the second quarterback tagline, someone that hits home. It's Joe Burrow. Reminds you who the hell he is. I think that there is a growing group in NFL fandom that wants to belittle Joe Burrow, his accomplishments, what the Bengals were able to do. We look at all these great quarterbacks, and while I think that Patrick Mahomes is the second greatest quarterback of all time, and he's earned that right, he came into a far different system than what Joe Burrow got. He has one of the greatest offensive minds. He had pretty good receiving weapons, and he had a team that already made the postseason. Joe Burrow came in with a coach that was like 3-30. He came in with a terrible offensive line, and he took him to a Super Bowl and then took him to the AFC Championship. And the only reason that he lost that second AFC Championship was some shaky officiating and playing the second greatest quarterback of all time. And people still want to belittle Joe Burrow because he doesn't do the cool things that Justin Herbert does, because he doesn't do the cool things that Josh Allen does. listen, when I hear guys like Peyton Manning say, I'm a huge fan of Joe Burrow, I think he's the second best quarterback in the league. When I hear guys like Tom Brady go, I'm a huge fan of Joe Burrow, I think he's the second best quarterback in the league. Then I hear guys that, have a TikTok account say Joe Burrow's overrated. I'll take the Hall of Fame quarterback's opinion over that. And Joe Burrow's going to remind this league, if he's on the field, I'm the guy that says that all the injury concerns are more than fair. They worry me. But when he's out on that field, as long as that blonde-haired boy is upright taking snaps for the Bengals, he'll remind you who the hell he is. Joe Burrow reminds you who the hell he is.
I think that's exactly what he needs to do and what all Bengals fans hope he does. I mean, everyone that knows football, has played football, Tom Brady, Peyton Manning most recently put him in their top 5 quarterbacks. And then, like you said, the random people on TikTok are the ones talking about, how he's completely washed and not in the top 10 or whatever. So I really hope he does come out and prove, what we all know and hope that he is. And I think as long as he's on the field, he's going to do so. So I'm confident that he's going to take this the right way, because I think he could also prove who he is by going out there and getting hurt again and missing a lot of time and proving that that's the quarterback he is. So, I'm hoping that that's not what happens. I'm hoping he goes out and proves that he's the guy that can play, 50 games in a row, those 2 seasons? And
40, sorry.
40 games in a row.
Plus.
See, Casey over here. 40 games in a row, those 2 seasons, and he gets you to the AFC Championship, he gets you to a Super Bowl. He goes out there and he does that. That's what he is this year. But I think this is the fork in the road for Joe Burrow, and whatever happens this year is who he is.
Yeah, Reed was right. I mean, last year brought out all the Joe Burrow doubters and haters, and partly because of what Jacob said. It's when you deal with as many injuries or injury scares or absences or whatever you want, whatever word you want to say. We're not saying it, but you do have to pay attention to it. That because people do the same thing with Lamar Jackson. People say Lamar Jackson's injury prone. Joe Burrow's, he's dealt with his deal of setbacks. I think that's a fair point when you talk about Joe Burrow. But at the end of the day, when he's on the field, he is a top 5 quarterback in the league, and he will be this season as long as he's healthy and available to play. I think he elevates our wide receiver room. I think we have great wide receivers, but I still think he elevates this offense to a point where we've never seen it in Bengals history. So, yeah, I think Joe Burrow, as Reed likes to say, reminds us of who he is.
I don't disagree with you guys at all. In fact, I'll take it a step further. Even if his injury does somewhat hold him back, that's not what really makes him Joe Burrow. It's this up here. He always makes the right decisions. He's got a supercomputer up there. He's always going to throw to the right guy, no matter what. Now, I can't speak for his wrist and what that might do to him, but I still think that even if it does become a problem, he's still going to be Joe Burrow, and he's still going to be one of the best quarterbacks in the league. So, yeah, I agree with this tagline.
All right, Joe Burrow reminds. Listen, we know who he is in this city, but I think there's some naysayers. There's some doubters that are.
Let them know.
That are going to be reminded.
Let those naysayers know.
That's what that acronym means. Speaking of people that like to be naysayers about a certain quarterback that constantly gets grouped into the top 3 in the league, I think rightfully so. Josh Allen finally gets the respect. And here's the reason I think he finally gets respect. I think people are coming around on this. But the big knock on Josh Allen is we crowned the Bills Super Bowl champs before the season, then he doesn't get there. And I've always said, this has been my take on Josh Allen and the Bills for a while, is that I'm not going to belittle someone's career because they're playing against one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time and what is maybe one of the few dynasties that we've seen in this sport. There's been, four dynasties in the NFL history, and we're seeing one before our eyes. And just because Josh Allen can't get over that hump doesn't mean it makes him any less of a quarterback. And I think that it's finally time that he gets respect. And I think he will get that respect because people are starting to see the cracks in that roster. We love them as Super Bowl favorites because of how almost perfect that roster was. Had a good line, had good weapons, had a good defense, all the good things, had a good pass rush, all the things that make a great team. Well, now it's kind of getting worse. And they lose a lot of pieces in their secondary. And the AFC East is getting better. The Jets, who, if they have any competent quarterback play, and we'll get to their quarterback here later on, if they have any competent quarterback play, they look to be pretty good. And the Dolphins, despite their postseason woes, look pretty good. Is it finally the year that the Bills take a major step back, show pretty significant regression? And I say no, because I think Josh Allen is a top 3 quarterback in this league. I think that if there's anybody that can single-handedly carry a team, it is a generational talent, a big frame, big strong arm, hard to bring down guy like Josh Allen. I think Josh Allen finally gets the respect from the people that don't already give it.
I think if it's not this year, it's coming, because at some point we're going to look back and we're going to realize that the numbers and the skill and everything Josh Allen's been able to do in Buffalo is second to none. It's been unbelievable. He leads the league in touchdowns and interceptions since he came into the league. Well, he also leads the league in touchdown to turnover ratio. So he scores at such an unbelievable clip that the turnovers and the questionable plays and everything, even though those get magnified in the Josh Allen discussion, they don't matter as much as they do for a lot of other quarterbacks, because he truly does just score more than everyone else. I think Josh Allen is 3, and if he's not 3, he's 2. Josh Allen's incredible. The only thing that's stopped him so far is Joe Burrow and Patrick Mahomes, and those 2 quarterbacks I think are pretty darn good too. So I think we have 3 quarterbacks right now that are truly generational talents in the NFL.
And I know people don't like to use this as an excuse, but he also got stopped by the NFL rules, which he single-handedly changed.
Right.
In the overtime playoff game against the Chiefs. So, yeah, I think you're going to see something out of Josh Allen this year that you haven't seen yet. And that's saying something, because he's been so good, but he's going to carry that team to a postseason. He's going to will that team to a postseason. I watched him gallop for a 55-yard touchdown in a playoff game against Pittsburgh last year, just doing it by himself. He's going to do it by himself this year, and he will have respect on his name at the end of this season. He's going to make the playoffs. I know Jacob and I disagree on this, and Casey, I think, also disagrees with me. I think the Bills are going to win that division, and I think they're going to be a damn good football team because of who Josh Allen is.
I agree with what you guys are saying. He's going to have to carry the team himself. I just don't know. It's just a lot. It's a lot on his shoulders now. His supporting cast has gotten considerably worse.
Wide receiver 1, Khalil Shakur.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, that's just atrocious. I feel like he's going to take a step back in terms of statistics, but in terms of what he does on the field and what direction they're going, where it's going to be probably more centric on James Cook running the ball, probably going to be more centric on Josh Allen not making as many mistakes. I think that's going to show that he's a very capable quarterback in many different styles. And I think we're going to see him probably not have as many turnovers. I mean, most people would think it would be the opposite, that he's going to be carrying a lot more and he's going to be putting the ball in harm's way because of that. I think the opposite, because I think the team's ready to give the ball more to the running game, really start to push that forward, and that's going to limit Josh Allen's attempts and whatnot to put the ball in harm's way, and he's still going to be Josh Allen, which means he's going to score a lot. So,
yeah, when I look at the AFC East, I am going to be like most fans, and I'm not going to buy into the Dolphins, the Fins, for very obvious reasons. I think they're pretty limited with Tua. Obviously, they don't play well in cold weather. If they're not playing a playoff game at home, then I don't really like their chances there. And then I'm buying into what everyone's believing in the Dolphins. I'm not buying into what everyone's believing in the Jets. I still think the Bills win the AFC East, but that's for a later point. We're going to carry on, and we're going to start talking about the AFC North quarterbacks when we come back. We're going to take a short break when we come back here on 1410 Wing AM Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers.
I have 7 in here.
And we are back here on Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers. Reed Mouse filling in for Justin Kinder. Thank you so much for being here today. Thank you to the Dayton listeners. Thank you for those in the chat. Love you guys. So we did quarterback taglines, playing a game where we are just simply given a sentence. If you had to explain a quarterback season or a quarterback, what we're going to talk about this quarterback this year, in one sentence, this is where I'm going to do a little predicting. And I want you guys to hold me accountable towards the end of the year. And I think if there's any one that where you can hold me accountable, it's the next one as we get into the AFC North. And it's kind of a dual quarterback thing, and it's regarding the Pittsburgh Steelers. So Justin Fields and Russell Wilson isn't quite the reset. I think you look at the Pittsburgh Steelers, they made the postseason last year. They had a pretty good year in a really tough division with terrible quarterback play. And I think both these guys are an improvement on Kenny Pickett. Russell Wilson and Justin Fields, it's not hard to be an improvement on Kenny Pickett. But I think that Steelers fans, I think that some fans here locally that are Ohio State fans and they want to see Justin Fields succeed, they think that one of these two will be the answer for the Steelers in the post-Ben Roethlisberger era, and I don't think it is. I don't think either one of these guys are the answer that the Pittsburgh Steelers are looking for. I think that Russell Wilson has had one of the strangest careers in NFL history, to where the way that he played early on in his career kind of molded certain quarterbacks, where undersized, mobile quarterbacks could have a spot in this league. And despite having a borderline Hall of Fame career, everyone doesn't like him. Won a Super Bowl, went back. And then there's a guy like Justin Fields who, man, oh man, there's so much talent there, but I just don't see either one of these quarterbacks getting the Steelers to where they feel comfortable for this guy being their guy for the franchise in the years forward. And I get it. I get Justin Fields when he plays. There's certain moments, there's certain highlights where he looks absolutely unbelievable. But in the same jest, 7-10 in the Bears when the NFC North wasn't very good, a lot of turnovers. There's just something that Justin Fields is lacking, and I'm not sure what it is. So do you guys think that I'm right? This is where I'm going out on the biggest limb, and I don't think this is quite the reset. I think that they're going to be looking for a rookie quarterback in the years to come. Maybe not next year, but 2 years down the line.
I'm going to back Justin Fields here. I think there's a chance that he can at least carve out a role as a serviceable quarterback to a level where the Steelers are competitive and winning 8 to 11 games or so, and they're fine. And he's not a Super Bowl caliber player. He's not an MVP caliber player. But I really do believe that he can be good enough to tread water, that they at least have a conversation about re-signing him at the end of this season.
I don't think it's. I think the Steelers are holding on to something that hasn't been there for a long time. Their quarterback play has been bad for several seasons now, and I don't think you're going to improve a ton by having either of these guys. I think Justin Fields had a bad deal in Chicago. I think we're all aware of that. But do I think Justin Fields is going to be some sort of Super Bowl candidate when he goes to the Steelers here? No, I don't think so. I think Russell Wilson is on the downtrend of his career, and at the end of the day, I don't think that's what I would want as a Steelers fan. Maybe for this season it's great. But yeah, I think they're holding on to something that just hasn't been there for so long. It's not a reset, it's just a continuation of something that was lost a while ago.
I like how people point out that this was in fact a segment on the herd, but like, hey, listen, you think we're the only podcast that does buy or sells here? you think it's just we're putting our spin on our own thing. Casey, you think Justin Fields, Russell Wilson is the answer there in Pittsburgh?
Ooh, no, I do not think so. But
it's a smart take.
When we talk about the answer, I look at the answer as being like pushing them towards the Super Bowl, right? I'm sure Justin Fields and Russell Wilson can continue to help them gain the same mediocrity that they've been at, that 10-7, that maybe even 11-6, that 9-8 sort of record. They can continue having that sort of success with these guys at quarterback, but that would mean that that's not quite my answer for my team. So in one sense, I'm saying, yeah, they can still win ball games. They can still be successful with these guys. But in the other sense, they'll never win a Super Bowl with these guys. So take that with what you will.
There's been different quarterbacks that have popped in a new setting. The one that comes to mind is Geno Smith with the Seattle Seahawks, obviously where he was previously. Didn't work out, goes to the Seahawks, and it was a pretty viable quarterback. Good quarterback, Pro Bowl quarterback. But you look at the history of quarterbacks in the league, and when I ask the question, has there ever been a quarterback that has waited till year 4 or 5 of starting and he pops, really becomes, what you think is a franchise quarterback? And the best example you got for me is Geno Smith.
Baker?
Top 10.
Baker? Baker last year, maybe?
Okay, well, Baker was good for the Browns. He was good. He had a good year last year, maybe the best of his career. But, like, once again, if the best example you're showing me is Geno Smith or Baker Mayfield, then that ceiling's not very high. And those are good quarterbacks, but I'm constantly told that Justin Fields is better than that. To where if that's the ceiling you're giving me is Geno Smith or Baker Mayfield, I like my opinion here on the side that maybe you should go and get a rookie quarterback and try in the draft. Although Steelers didn't obviously swung and miss on Kenny Pickett. All right, we're staying in the AFC North, and this is one that I think Jacob is a fan of, and Lamar Jackson all on the line. I know you like to belittle the MVPs. I think Lamar Jackson is certainly a top 4 quarterback in the league, but where I'm giving the pass to Josh Allen because he's constantly gone up against the Chiefs and fallen short, I've seen Lamar Jackson in the postseason, and I haven't seen what we should be seeing. I haven't seen it yet. I haven't seen the MVP quarterback in the postseason yet, to where this Ravens team that has now given him an extension and kept this guy around long term, there's going to be some questions there if they are once again the best team in the AFC or one of the best teams in the AFC, and we don't see that big pop in the postseason, where we don't see the big explosive game or at least beating the teams. Like if they play a Bills team and once again he doesn't look good, or if they play the Bengals and he doesn't look good, there's a lot on the line there. There's a lot on the line there. Do I think that the Ravens have a chance to step back? Certainly. When you looked like the best team in the league, there's almost nowhere to go but backwards. Everyone wants to talk about the Derrick Henry signing. How can you go from being the best rushing team in the league? How much better is Derrick Henry going to make that rushing game look? Doesn't scare me. Doesn't scare me at all. I think there's a lot on the line. In fact, I think it's all on the line for Lamar Jackson this year, to where it's not a tangible thing. It's not a saying like, hey, he needs to get to the Super Bowl. I just need to see that he's a good quarterback in the postseason. I need to see him play one of the best teams in the AFC, not an upstart Texans, and play well. I need to see him play well against the Chiefs. I need to see him play well against the Bills. I need to see him play well against one of these teams that we have talked about being Super Bowl contenders. I need him to see him play well in the postseason. So I think it's all on the line.
I absolutely agree. I think at some point Lamar is going to get the same pushback that everyone else gets. And if we're talking about Josh Allen, that he needs to finally win, well, he's won a lot more than Lamar has in the playoffs. He's played a lot better than Lamar has in the playoffs. Julian Edelman said it perfectly over the weekend. Every time we get to January and February, well, Lamar doesn't play in February, but every time we get to January, Lamar's on a milk carton. He's missing. He's not there at all. So he's going to have to prove at some point that he can play late into the season, that he's not going to drop off, that the wear and tear of the NFL season is not going to beat him down, because that's all we've seen in his career, is that when he gets to the playoffs, he completely disappears. And at some point, the MVPs aren't good enough. I mean, Aaron Rodgers has 4 MVPs, and every time we talk about him, we talk about 1 Super Bowl in a decade in Green Bay. So Lamar doesn't even have that yet. At some point, these MVPs and the conversation of him as a top 3, top 4, top 5 quarterback, he's going to have to do something in the playoffs. And I think this is the year to do it, because who knows how long they have with this team, this setup in Baltimore. And I know you could say the same thing about Cincinnati and a whole lot of other teams in the league, but Derrick Henry is pretty old. A lot of that defense has already left. They're missing a lot of key pieces that were on that defense last year, and a lot of the other guys are getting to the tail end of their career. So I think that Ravens' window is a little bit more shut than people think. The gap's not quite as big as a lot of the other teams in the league, and they're going to have to capitalize soon, and that weight falls on Lamar Jackson's shoulders.
This is the first one I'm going to disagree with. I don't think he has to prove anything. Not yet. I mean, I don't. He's had 2 MVP seasons. I don't know how many quarterbacks have multiple MVPs. About 6. Short list. Sure. He's been a very good quarterback. I'm not on the train with a lot of Bengals fans where Lamar's a running back. He can't do this. He can't do that. I understand the playoff record's not great. He's 2-4 in the postseason. It's not exactly a otherworldly stat line when you're talking about the upper echelon of top-tier quarterbacks. I'm just saying, this season specifically, I don't think it's all on the line. He has 2 MVP seasons. He's 27 years old. He's a very good quarterback, and I think he's got a ton of time to prove that he's as good as Aaron Rodgers, if that's the bar. And if you are as good as Aaron Rodgers, you're one of the best quarterbacks to ever play this sport. So it's like, I'm not going to sit here and say that he has to go out and win a Super Bowl. He has to go out and win an AFC Championship game. We've given the past a little bit to Josh Allen, so I'm going to sit here and I'm going to say that he's fine. I'm not going to downplay his playoff victory, his playoff dominant win over the Houston Texans last year. I'm kind of over the Lamar slander. At some point, he's a very good quarterback, and I think more people should be aware of it.
I absolutely agree that he's a very good quarterback. I think this is he great?
That's fair.
Yeah, I don't want it to make it sound like, before we get to Casey's opinion on this, I don't want it to make it sound like he has to go to the Super Bowl, he has to do these things. I don't think it's like that. I just need to see better than what we've got. In his postseason, he's a 57% passer. He's thrown 6 touchdowns and 6 interceptions. That's not a 2-time MVP. That's not what we expect from a top 4 quarterback, which is where I think Lamar Jackson is. If you ask me my quarterback list, it goes Patrick Mahomes, it goes Josh Allen, Joe Burrow, 2-3, and then it goes Lamar Jackson, 4, and then there's a gaggle of guys in the after that. But I do think that the questions are going to become a lot heavier on those shoulders of Lamar Jackson if he gets to the postseason again, and whether they win or not, he's got to look better than what he's looked. He's got to look better than what he looked. He looked really good against the Texans. I'm not taking that away from him. But again, that was for 3 quarters. He looked kind of anemic. All right, Casey.
I'm going to defend Lamar just a little bit here, and then I'm going to tear him down a little bit. First off, I think he was very close in terms of just having a good performance against the Chiefs. If Zay Flowers doesn't fumble the ball in the end zone, I mean, that's another touchdown to his name. That game looks a little bit different. Obviously, it's 17-17 ball game, and who knows what happens after that. So I'm going to give him some credit there. I thought last year was probably the best he's looked in the playoffs, and despite that Chiefs game. So I think there's growth there that he's had. Now, the problem is that he's got to face at some point is that he's not always going to be young and fresh and able to run the ball like he can, which adds so much to his game. I know he's done a lot in terms of being a quarterback, but how much does his legs affect the defense to allow him to be that good quarterback? How much does the roster around him allow him to be that type of quarterback? And I just think that this is the year, if you're not going to do it in the next couple seasons, you look at the lifespan of an NFL running back and you look at the amount of carries he's had, you look at the sacks that he's taken over the last couple seasons, it's only grown. It's only gotten worse for him. He's had injuries in his career. I just think like this is the time to do it because at some point you're going to lose your legs. You're going to lose the all-pro roster around you, and you're going to have a lot more on your shoulders. So I agree with the idea that this is kind of coming to a head here. Lamar's got to get it done. I just feel like he was very close last year. It's not like he's super far away. Maybe like we've thought. I think he was just right there on the cusp last season.
I think last year was that Ravens team. If they win the Super Bowl, we're talking about that Ravens team as one of the greatest teams we've ever seen.
Yeah,
but they didn't get it done, so we're not talking about that. What's a decent passer rating? Normally 90's good, right?
90's the good line.
90's good. 80's average.
Fine.
80's average. And Lamar Jackson's 6 starts as a quarterback in the postseason, he has only eclipsed 80 one time. 78, 63, 74, 61, 121, and 75. So we're going to continue this segment. I think we're having a lot of fun with this one. We will get to, if we got to go over for the YouTube crowd, we got to go over for the YouTube crowd because I do want to get to the Trevor Bauer, Joey Votto stuff. I think that's very important. But we're going to keep going with this taglines because we're having fun talking NFL. I love talking NFL football. We'll talk about it more when we come back on 1410 Wing AM. And we are back here on Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers. Reed Mouse filling in for Justin Kinner, having a lot of fun doing it. Kinner does a fantastic job. I'm excited for the week in the fall where I get to host the entire week. It gets me a little.
Hopefully, that's the week after the Chiefs game.
Yeah.
Hopefully, we're coming off the win and we can just tear them down.
That's
for
right.
6 days, 5 days.
I'm cool with that. I'm cool with that because everyone thinks I'm a Chiefs homer, which I'm not. I'm just a realist when it comes to looking at a quarterback and saying, that's pretty good. That's pretty elite. But we're going to keep doing this. Quarterback taglines. One sentence to kind of sum up what I think is going to happen with this quarterback this year, their career going forward. What kind of is the vibe around this team or this quarterback going forward? The final AFC North quarterback is Deshaun Watson, and I think he's going to give false hope.
Yes.
We've seen what the bar is for Browns fans to get excited when it comes to their quarterback. Listen, if you're gonna think you're a Super Bowl contender with what Joe Flacco was doing last year, I brought this up before. Everyone's telling me, I'm hearing all these Browns fans telling me how great Joe Flacco looked. I watched them play the Bears, and I thought he looked terrible. He threw for 350 yards. But he had 6 passes on top of the 3 that were intercepted that should have been intercepted. So this is where I think that's going to happen with Deshaun Watson. I think the Browns are kind of obviously they've got one of the best rosters in the league. No one's doubting that. But they get Deshaun Watson to be their franchise guy. They wanted to emulate what the Rams did and go to get the guy to win the Super Bowl. And he hasn't been that. After all the troubles that he had, he comes back on the field, and he doesn't quite look like the Deshaun Watson from the Houston Texans. I think Deshaun Watson will look good. I think that the Browns fans will inflate how good he looks because you know their history with quarterback. It's not a very high bar they have to jump over for this guy to be their franchise guy. And I think this Browns team will flirt with winning the AFC North, with being one of the best teams in the AFC, and then we'll go back to what Deshaun Watson's been over the past 2 years, which is then They'll still win games because that roster's really good. We'll see flashes of Deshaun Watson being the old Deshaun. I was going to throw elite. I don't want to quite go there, but the old Deshaun. But he'll give them false hope, and they'll brown the same way that they've browned. When the best season of my lifetime for the Cleveland Browns is them losing by 40 in a postseason game, that's what you're going to see this year.
And I'll go first here. I had this ready to go. In 2 seasons with the Browns, he hasn't eclipsed a 42.9 QBR. He hasn't eclipsed a 61% completion percentage, 58% in 2022. He hasn't played more than 6 games in a season. He hasn't thrown more than 7 touchdowns in those 2 6-game seasons he's played in. I think he's a borderline bad quarterback in the year 2024. But nonetheless, there are those years of the past, those MVP-type seasons where you look back and you say, he's still got that in him. He can be that. No, I'm sorry, he can't. And I've seen it for 2 years now. He's incapable of it. He's incapable of being healthy. He's incapable of staying on the field. And he's incapable of being a competent quarterback when he's on the field. I'm out on Deshaun Watson, but I agree with this tagline that there are some Cleveland fans out there that look at Deshaun and say, he's going to be that old guy. He's going to be the guy that was really good in Houston. He's not. And he's going to give that false hope. He's going to open the door for it, and their hearts are going to be crushed this year.
We're going to see them beat a really good team, and he's going to have an incredible game, and they're going to get all excited. They're going to say, this is what we broke the quarterback market. We broke the NFL. Shout out to the Browns for doing that, by the way. You broke the NFL. We had a nice thing going. Then you have just the most ridiculous trade that I've ever seen in professional sports. And it's all going to work out because Deshaun's going to play one great game early on in the season, and they're going to give false hope, and then it's going to go back down to the Deshaun Watson we expect.
I'm rooting for this. And maybe I shouldn't be. Maybe I should be rooting for them to go 0-17.
Yeah.
I'm rooting for the Browns to start I got to look at their schedule, make sure we don't play them early, but they start 5-0, beat some good teams. Deshaun's putting up MVP numbers. He's got that Tua September MVP odds. He's high on the book. Then they lose 4 or 5 in a row. He comes back down to what we all know he is at this point in his career, and that's nothing special. That's what I'm rooting for. I hope he starts the season hot. I hope Browns fans get really, really excited, and then he just rips the rug out right from under him.
Cowboys at home, Jaguars on the road, Giants, Raiders, Commanders.
You can stop right there. If they beat the Cowboys in week 1,
yeah,
the guy that usually sits in that chair is going to be a deal.
No, I mean,
A lot to deal with.
They have a legitimate shot at starting 4-1, 5-0, to where like he might look really good, and then it gets really tough for them. They play Philadelphia on the road. They come here to Cincinnati, which they've had no problem beating the Bengals in years prior, unfortunately. But that's still a tough game. They play Baltimore, and they play a Justin Herbert and a Jim Harbaugh Chargers, who I expect to be a little better. I don't know. Could get the rug ripped out from right underneath them. Does Deshaun Watson give them false hope, Casey?
Yeah, he does. I don't even think that's a debatable answer. I mean, they're basing their whole entire hopes and dreams off of 5 games that he played last year. I mean, he's already giving them false hope, if you ask me. He's not proven anything. So that alone, to me, just screams that he's just giving them a bunch of false hope. Personally, I'm looking at his schedule very early on. Besides the Cowboys, it seems like he's got an easy.
Don't disrespect the Jacksonville Jaguars like that.
I will.
The Jaguars.
Yeah, I think his first 5 games are very winnable games, except for the Cowboys. And then he plays Eagles, Bengals, Ravens right after that. That's a really tough stretch for him. It's not a bad schedule by any stretch of the imagination. I think that they can be competitive for most of it. I just feel like Deshaun is going to show that he's not a good fit in Cleveland. And that team has a lot of false hope into him right now. I mean, he played really good against a bad Titans team, and that's about it. And then I guess he came back against the Ravens. Those are the 2 games that they stick their entire season on, those 2.
Will that go down? Will that go down as the worst contract in NFL history?
I think it already, I think
it is already.
Barring a Deshaun Watson taking the Browns to the Super Bowl, it is well on its way to being. It broke the NFL.
Yeah.
We didn't give guaranteed money in this league, and it was kind of a gorgeous thing to keep your team in constant contention. I mean, it's bad for the players. I'm pro players, so it's good for them. But in terms of ownership, it wrecked the way that you do business, because now everyone wants money guaranteed. And that's why you have holdouts or hold-ins, as Jamar Chase does. Yeah, I mean, this team has an opportunity to start 5-0, 4-1, and get really excited. You look at the back half of their schedule. After right around Thanksgiving, they go Pittsburgh, easy game against Denver, Pittsburgh, Kansas City, Bengals, Miami, Baltimore to round out the year. That's a really tough way. And like I said, I realized how bad the quarterback play had been in Cleveland. I didn't realize it was so bad that we are going to hoist Joe Flacco up like they were true Super Bowl contenders.
Well, you guys hate Joe Flacco, but I think Joe Flacco had an admirable
He
season.
was below average quarterback.
Come on. Believe in Joe Flacco a little bit.
It was fine. It was far more of a fun story than it was actual reality, and that's what you're going to get with the Cleveland Browns this year. All right, for the final 4, because I do have 4 more. I want this to be kind of quick. We've given the opinion on the big ones, but I want to know what you guys think about this one right here. And Caleb Williams, Bears become transformative, and the reason I say that is, for the first time in our life, the Chicago Bears will have a really good offense. The tough, grizzled Bears, the 85 Bears, Mike Ditka's Bears.
Bears.
Are finally going to look competent on the offensive side of the ball in a very offensive-heavy NFC North. I think that the Bears are going to be very, very good. I mean, I don't want to put, 10-7, 11. I think that they are going to be more than vying for a playoff spot. And I think that their offense we're going to look at ourselves midway through the year and go, how for real is this Bears team? We're going to have that conversation. Are they true NFC contenders? It's not just going to be, can they make the postseason? It's going to be conversation like, man, this team looks for real. And I think that's what you're going to see with Caleb Williams. Fact or false?
Yeah, no, everyone knows where I stand on Caleb Williams, and I think Bears games are going to be must-watch TV this year. I think if you're a football fan and the Bengals aren't playing in the same window, you should turn the Bears game on, because they're going to be incredible, and Caleb is going to light the world on fire from the minute he steps on the field, and I think he's going to be one of the best rookie quarterbacks we've maybe ever seen. So I think the Bears are going to be, I will put tangible expectations on it. I think their floor is 10-7. I think they're going to win at least 11 or 12 games. I think they're going to fight for the 1 seed in the NFC, fight for the NFC North division with the Lions and the Packers, which I expect to be very good as well. I think that's going to be the second best division in football. I think you have 3 playoff teams in it, and I think the Bears are right there with the other 2 when you're talking about a legitimate Super Bowl contender.
Cody Parkey took away a glorious championship run that the Bears could have had, whatever year that was. It was Cody Parkey's fault, not Mitch Trubisky's. But saying that, this seems to be the rebuild that they wanted when they drafted Mitch Trubisky. This was the initial plan. They've gone through a couple plans since the initial plan, but this is the one that they really wanted. They have a lot of talent around him. He has a good situation in Chicago. Hopefully they can lock up their equipment better than they did last year so people aren't stealing $150,000 worth of. Well, it's the funniest story of all time. And on top of their joke of a season that they had. I mean, no disrespect to Justin Fields or Mitch Trubisky, but this guy's the real deal. I think the Bears have a season that those poor people in Chicago that they've wanted for so long now. And I think this is the start of something better, at least better and since, I don't know, when the last time, since Cutler maybe? I guess since Cutler.
When Jay Cutler is your best quarterback ever, when you've never had a quarterback throw for 4,000 yards, that's pretty abysmal.
Yeah.
And the oldest franchise in the league.
Yeah, Bears single season passing record is 3,800 yards.
Never
Caleb's
had a
breaking that this year.
Never had
Really?
4,000.
Yes. Caleb will break that this year.
Never have had
I like that
4,000.
take.
It's I think it's gonna look a lot differently. Casey, hard opinion either way.
I mean, I agree with your tagline. I think that he's going to completely transform what the Bears are, which is just a joke of a franchise. Now, do I think they're going to set the league on fire? I'm not all the way there yet. I think that rookies are obviously going to go through some growing pains. He's got a great roster around him. Plenty of analysts have said that they've got a top 5 roster, which I'm not sure if I'm ready to go there yet, but I do agree that's a really great roster. So that being said, he's got all the tools. We saw it on display in the preseason game. He's capable of maneuvering around the pocket, making great deep ball throws like many of the great quarterbacks can. And that being said, he's a special type of player. He's a transformative type of player. I agree with the headline, the tagline there.
Nice. All right. Really quickly. Last year I had a lot of fun with this one. You guys, I mean, I got killed for Brock Purdy takes.
Oh, no.
Brock Purdy back to Mr. Irrelevant. Obviously, famously the last pick in the draft. Here's what I'll say. Everyone wants to talk about the Brandon Ayuk deal and is he going to get extended? What's going to happen with Brandon Ayuk? All the things. I'll tell you right now, if the 49ers do not sign Trent Williams, if Trent Williams does not play for the 49ers this year for whatever reason, Brock Purdy's back to Mr. Irrelevant. That team looks fine without Brandon Ayuk. That team looks fine without George Kittle. Looks fine without Deebo Samuel. They were fine before CMC, honestly. But without Trent Williams, that team's not very good. When you have the second best player in the league at the second most important position in Trent Williams, even though he's in his age, that team they falter. They falter without Trent Williams. And if he doesn't come back, Brock Purdy goes back to Mr. Irrelevant. And though they want to extend him, though they want to get him, he looks like he might be the answer to what the 49ers have been lacking for a while, which is kind of a franchise quarterback. I don't see it. I think you're going to see exactly the reason why he got picked last pick of the draft. You think I'm way wrong?
I have to give him a little bit of credit. I have to, because I was on your side last year. I'm going to give Brock Purdy a little bit of credit. I don't think he's going to be Mr. Irrelevant this season. I think there are far worse quarterbacks in this league than Brock Purdy.
No doubt.
But I will say it does seem like if you go down position by position, he is probably one of the worst position groups on that team. So I don't know what
the worst position group.
Maybe the worst. So I don't know what that says about him. I think he's serviceable enough to lead him to a Super Bowl, but I don't know what that means.
I do not. I do not think Brock Purdy can win
lead
anything short of a super team to a Super Bowl. And I think you're seeing the first iteration of the Niners losing a lot of the pieces that make them that super team. Trent Williams is just the tip of the spear. You're going to probably at least lose Ayuk for a game or two. It seems like he's going to hold out into the season. So we'll see what happens there. If he gets traded, who cares what they do with Trent Williams? Without Ayuk and Deebo, I don't think Brock Purdy's lighting the world on fire. I don't think the Niners are a lock to win the NFC or be a 1 seed or anything like that. Any of the aspirations that they have, I think he's going to continue to hold them back as long as he's their quarterback. His ceiling is in the same place as his floor, and that's not a good place to be as an NFL team.
Yep.
Mr. Irrelevant. What do we call Mr. Irrelevant? Like just the worst quarterback in the league that
I'd say if
should
he's in
not
the bottom third of the league.
I can't go there. I don't think he'll be a top 10 quarterback. If that's the case, if we're sticking with this and he's gonna have a regression, he's not gonna be below 24th in the quarterback.
Will there be
range.
legitimate conversations following the season that the Niners need to either draft a quarterback or like really push for someone in free agency?
And the answer is yes.
Right.
The
Yes.
answer is absolutely yes. He will do fine with Trent Williams. If Trent Williams comes back, he will do fine. They'll look good. They'll look great. They'll look like NFC contenders, Super Bowl contenders, all that stuff. But you'll constantly be having to ask yourself, is it because Brock Purdy is actually good, or is it because he has one of the best tackles of all time, one of the best weapon rooms of all time, one of the best offensive minds of all time, and one of the best defenses of all time around him?
Let's remember who was there before him. I mean, Jimmy got to a Super Bowl.
Jimmy G.
And he was a great game manager, and he couldn't really get
fine.
it done. But
It's
the
fine.
team around him was so good that they got to a Super Bowl.
Yeah,
I
I
think it's
know.
the same thing with Brock Purdy, and they're finally going to realize that you need a difference maker at that position, regardless of how good the other 21 are.
Oh, I don't disagree. I feel like 49ers could make the same mistake that the Dolphins do, and just because they have a guy that's like a top 16 quarterback, which I love Brock Purdy. I think he's a top half quarterback in the league. They're going to still pay him. Now, it just kind of depends on, like, if he's asking for top money, I would not pay that. I would not pay that at all for Brock Purdy. It's kind of the same argument I had with, like, Trevor Lawrence, Tua, like all those guys. They're all asking for 53, 55. No, I'm not doing that for Brock Purdy. You're gonna sign this deal for 45, and you're gonna like it because we got other players to play.
I think I could truly name like 15 to 20 quarterbacks I'd rather have. I think
For sure.
I think the 49ers would be better with. I like just giving you a parameter of where I'm at. I think they're better with Baker Mayfield.
I agree with that.
I think
I
they're
think he's the
better
same
with-
quarterback as Baker.
Okay, well then at the very least that they're the exact same
yeah.
thing. All right, before we get off, I'm gonna give you guys just the taglines. We're not gonna go around the room, but it is the final two. So Bo Nix, I think, is interesting, and I think we don't know Bo. I think that Bo Nix has the right coach. I don't know if he has the right roster. He's obviously plays in a pretty tough division with the Chiefs and a Jim Harbaugh-led Chargers with Justin Herbert. But I think Bo Nix has the lowest bar. I think he has the lowest bar out of all of the rookie quarterbacks that are going to play, to where that we'll look at the Broncos and say, Bo did all right. Bo did fine. I think Bo Nix is going to be just fine. I think that he will be the starter for his entire rookie contract, and I wouldn't be surprised at all if at the end of it, this Broncos team looks viable, like a postseason caliber team, not this year, but going forward, because Bo Nix and Sean Payton are a pretty good match. I think there's a lot of similarities between the quarterback that Sean Payton once had and Bo Nix.
5.5 wins, yes or no?
I think they're going to sweep the Raiders. So I think I'm going to go over.
Well,
I don't know their schedule, but I
Worst
know
team in the
they're
league.
not going to beat the Chiefs.
You think they're going to have the one pick?
I think they're gonna have the one. I think that's the worst. I think that's the worst
Wow.
team in the league.
I heavily disagree there. But fair.
We can do that. We can do that sometime off air. And then the final one is Aaron Rodgers, the great enigma. Obviously, his personality, you just don't know what you get. Obviously, guys, if you've watched the show long enough, if you listen to the show long enough, I'm not a big Aaron Rodgers thing, and I think he's one of the most disingenuous people that I've ever had to constantly hear about. I don't like people that constantly have to assert that they're smarter than everyone else. I don't like people like that, even though I sometimes do that. But here's the thing about Aaron Rodgers is I just don't know what I'm going to get. This is where I'm putting my hands up, and if the Jets look like Super Bowl contenders, yes, they have one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time in the twilight of his career. If they look like if they look 7-10, yeah, that's what I just don't know what I'm getting with Aaron Rodgers, and I don't think that we will get answers week to week. I don't think that it will be the first 3 weeks he'll look like the Aaron Rodgers that had won 4 MVPs and had taken the Green Bay Packers to 6 NFC championships. I think we'll see that sometimes, and I think we'll see what we saw with Aaron Rodgers in the last year of his Packers, which was still okay. It was just okay. It wasn't bad. It was okay. So he's the great enigma. The Jets don't have to clear very much to be any good. So Aaron Rodgers, the great enigma. Guys, that was fun. It was so much fun hosting today. For the radio listeners, that is us signing off. If you want to see what we're going to talk about, because we are going to talk about the Trevor Bauer, Joey Votto stuff on our YouTube show, just get on YouTube, search Chatterbox Sports, and you'll see Off the Bench right there. But for 1410 Wing AM, this is Reed Mouse, Casey McAllister, Elliot Raring, and Jacob Tissett signing off. Justin Kenner will be back tomorrow. Thank you so much to our sponsors. Off the Bench presented by United Dairy Farmers. And we are back. Guys, that was fun. That was fun. And we're gonna talk about something I think that is it's more inflammatory than it is actual news. It's more fluff and there's nothing really to report. Anytime you're talking about Trevor Bauer, anytime you're talking about you're kind of speculating, although he pretty much outwardly said what we're going to talk about here in a second. But it's I don't like giving too much news. Similar to, I think there's a lot. I just talked about Aaron Rodgers, and I want to say this. I think there's a lot of similarities between Aaron Rodgers and Trevor Bauer in that they are constantly putting themselves in weird situations. There are constantly people that are like, I don't like this guy, all these things. And then they whine, like, why am I getting mistreated? Obviously, the Trevor Bauer stuff, I think he should play I think he should be in Major League Baseball based on what has come out afterwards. I think that he is getting blackballed, all these things. But in the same jest, I don't feel bad for him because I genuinely think that him as a person, and I've never met him, this is where you get into dangerous waters when it comes to celebrities, when it comes to athletes. I've never met him. I don't know what he's like. But based off almost everything that has ever come out about Trevor Bauer is that he doesn't seem like a very fun guy to be around. And guys that constantly poke and prod, like Aaron Rodgers, like Trevor Bauer do, and then they wonder why everyone doesn't like him, it's not hard to understand why. Like I said, he should be in the league. Everything that has come out, there's certainly people that have done worse things that are playing current Major League Baseball right now. But I also don't feel overly bad for him. So, guys, Elliot, you want to tee up this whole thing?
Well, so Trevor Bauer and Natty Sports were engaged in a friendly friendship argument. Natty Sports was saying, Trevor, please, Trevor, I beg you, please be my friend and please come to Cincinnati. We'd love to have you. And Trevor's like, well, I'm getting blackballed by all these teams, and these teams don't want me, but it's not for reasons that they're letting the public know about. And there's a much larger conspiracy, and we'll get into some of these tweets here. Casey's going to pull up this first one. So this was one of the ones that started it, and this was there's absolutely zero belief that my stuff won't succeed in the league. Every team we talk to says I'd be their one or two in their rotation.
Every team.
Everyone he's talked to.
A lot of teams.
Here's the issue. He's not in the league. So what do you want me to do with that? And that's fine. It's what they're telling him. That's what I believe him. That's what they're telling him. That's what they're telling him. So they go on, yada, yada, yada. Natty goes, well, why is that then? If what are the reasons? Why aren't you signed? And he goes, well, one team told us it's not their decision. It's an MLB decision. One team told me I was too expensive, even though I offered to play for the league minimum. Another team told us they've covered up some stuff in the past, and they don't want the media digging into to find out about.
Interesting.
So now there's a big conspiracy.
It goes all the way to the top.
We got teams covering up things that they don't want the MLB to find out about because you signed Trevor Bauer. What are we talking about? Trevor, brother, I mean, this sounds like excuses I give my parents when I don't want to take the garbage out. Like I don't want to go down all the way down to the hill and take the garbage out. There's a much bigger conspiracy out there. Somebody's down on the street maybe, and they could kidnap me. Sure, it could be true, but it's probably not, Trev.
You know what this I swear to God, you know what this sounds like is when you talk to someone about their athletic career, and they're like, yeah, I could have gone D1, but like the coach had it out for me, and then all this stuff, and
It was a
and
league
you're like,
decision.
okay, yeah, whatever, dude. Like it's just the crazy. So in contract negotiations, let's play this out. In contract negotiations, hey, Trevor, we want you to play for this team. Yeah, we think that right away you'd be our ace. You'd be our ace. Unfortunately, and don't go too digging into this, but unfortunately, we've done some bad stuff in the past, and people start digging around, people start looking around, and we look bad now. So, like, what?
Yeah, it's silly.
What? That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard.
It's nonsense, and it's just whatever. He wants to draw attention to himself.
Which he needs to be doing.
Which he needs to be doing.
Otherwise, he'd be nowhere.
So they continue their very, very thrilling conversation here. And Natty says, since when does the MLB have a say who a team signs and employs? And Natty, of course, says, I've lobbied for you on here in the past, but our pitiful president of operations refuses to build a winning team. And Trevor says, that's a great question about the MLB. It shouldn't be their decision, but apparently in certain cases it is. And all of your coaches and players agree with that, but they've been told.
Trevor knows.
They've been told. So now it's the MLB is telling everybody don't sign this guy. He's a problem.
Now, I don't necessarily think that's because I do think he's good enough to play in the league, and I
agree with that.
I 100% think that the MLB has had private talks with all the owners and said, hey, let's just keep Trevor Bauer out of this. I think that is something that has happened. So, like, the first thing where he's talking to a team and he's like, this team doesn't want something else to get uncovered if I sign with them, I think that's horseshit. I think that's as bull crap as it gets. I think at least subscribe to the opinion that the MLB has said, sign Trevor at your own caution. Not outwardly said you can't do it, but maybe have laid parameters out to be like, hey, if this happens, then like we're gonna be a little tougher on you.
So then this conversation continues, and Natty Sports says, I still can't believe how much some of them hated you. Thanks, Nat. And then he says, and to that, 2 of them disliked me. 1 because I stood up for the rest of the team's interests, specifically young players who felt they couldn't speak up on a controversial issue. He disagreed with, quote, my stance, not realizing it was the stance of the majority of the team. Sorry, I lost my place here. The other disliked me because I demanded better effort from our veterans. The effort we were getting from this specific individual was not acceptable in a winning culture. Now, this is where the key word comes in. Apparently, losing for 10 straight years sucks the competitor out of you. But we got it resolved in the end and had the best year the Reds organization has had in the last decade. Neither of those individuals are with the team anymore, just to clear it up. Why?
He was just saving everyone's name.
Why are you doing this? If you're a player trying to get back in the league, I feel like the last thing you should be doing is calling out, bringing up drama from 4 years ago, about the Cincinnati Reds. Why are you calling out Joey Votto? Why even bring it up? I know it's your story. You can tell your stories. Great. But if you're a guy trying to get back into Major League Baseball, I feel like you shouldn't want to call out active MLB players and say, you know what, we had a big argument once. They didn't like me for a time. They weren't the only ones who didn't like me. There's a conspiracy. Nobody likes me. But the MLB tells them not to like. It's just, there's so many excuses, and I get it. It's frustrating getting blackballed from Major League Baseball. I'm not saying the guy should never pitch in the league again. From all accounts, again, legally speaking, he probably should be back from a legal standpoint. But Reed was right. Everywhere he goes, he's had issues. I can't imagine this was the only issue he's had in Major League Baseball. I imagine he had a couple little things that happened in Cleveland. What about when he threw a baseball over the center field batter's eye when his manager tried to pull him from a game? I get it. These are just lone instances. I'm not saying anything about. I'm just saying, like, if you're trying to get back in the league, let's not slander Joey Votto. And Joey Votto's a guy that I think, unfortunately, has taken some slander over the past couple of years just because it didn't end well. He was 40 years old, and he didn't hit 300 when he was 40 years old. I don't get the hate for Joey Votto. And if anything I saw from last night And it's incredible to me. It's incredible that so many Reds fans still don't like the guy. They don't respect what he did. They don't understand why the Reds paid him. They don't understand that you can pay more than a $120 million contract in Major League Baseball. People don't get that. I don't understand the logic of the Joey Votto hate. I'll never understand it. I don't get it. He was a better player than any player he played with outside of Junior. He played with Junior for 2 years. He was a better baseball player in that I've seen as a 25-year-old human being. He was a better baseball player than anybody else. And people are going to sit here and tell me he didn't want to win while he was leading the team in every statistical category? What? Where does that logic come into play? I don't get it. And the Trevor Bauer stuff, people want to know why that guy's not in the league. It's probably because he feels the need he has to air Twitter drama every chance he can. You can have your excuses. We get it, man. We get it. But you don't got to tell us every day. We know what's happened to you. It's wrong. I'm sorry. Legally speaking, you should probably be back. But I promise you, the play is not to piss off Major League Baseball players that you're going to try to enter the pool of again whenever you come back from Mexico. It's not going to happen.
Like I've said, and I kind of teased this early on in the show that it feels like a few like different sides of this stuff got vindicated because people that don't like Trevor Bauer, guys like me who don't like it's not even about the legal stuff, which I will admittedly, as someone who didn't like Trevor Bauer beforehand, I admittedly jumped to conclusions when that stuff came out because it vindicated my opinion on him, and then it comes out that it's not true. And I'll say this over and over and over again that one, you're allowed to change your opinions if new facts come out. And when new facts came out, I felt bad. I felt bad about things that I've said about Trevor Bauer in the past. He should play in Major League Baseball. There's no doubt about it. He's got good enough stuff. What's going on to him is absolutely wrong. But I don't feel bad for people that constantly try to piss other people off when the other people get mad at him. There's a Sports Illustrated article about Trevor Bauer that came out a couple years ago, like 5-6 years ago, and he was quoted in there as saying, "I'm good at two things, and that's throwing baseballs and pissing people off." Okay, dude. He got players that played with him when he first came up in Arizona have gone out and said, "Hey, this dude rubbed everyone the wrong way. No one liked him." And like people have said that, teammates of his. Then he obviously had a big feud at UCLA with Garrett Cole. He's obviously had a feud with Joey Votto, who was this franchise's player. When he got traded away from the Diamondbacks, he made a diss track towards the Diamondbacks. I don't feel bad for Aaron Rodgers when he's constantly poking and prodding at everyone, and then he's like, "Why is everyone not like me?" I don't feel bad for Trevor Bauer when he's constantly poking and prodding at everyone and then going out and say, "Hey, why does no one like me?" Here's what I'll say. And maybe I shouldn't even talk about this subject because it seems like you just get in trouble. But if the stuff that Trevor Bauer was accused of and the reason that he left the league happened to a guy like David Ortiz, Big Papi, beloved by everyone. If that stuff came out and he gets banned from the league, whatever happened with Trevor Bauer, and then it comes out that it wasn't true, guess who's back in the league? Big Papi. Like, you reap what you sow. And if you're constantly pissing people off, don't wonder why there's no one vying for you or pledging your case. I don't know. Once again, I think he should be in the league. I think it's absolutely wrong what he has happened. There's actually another case of this happening in baseball currently, and that is in Major League Hall of Fame. Curt Schilling. Curt Schilling's not being allowed in the Hall of Fame because of his political beliefs and things that he said on social media in the past. That's so absolutely wrong that it's crazy. It is absolutely insane that Curt Schilling isn't in the Hall of Fame because of his political beliefs. It's terrible. It's wrong. Has he said things that are crazy? No doubt about it. But it's wrong that he's not in the Hall of Fame because of those things. And it's wrong that Trevor Bauer isn't playing Major League Baseball. But in the same jest as me saying that, don't don't be confused or don't cry wolf when you've pissed everyone off in the process. You got to maintain relationships for this reason. And anyone that calls himself the last honest man, get off your damn high horse.
My last thing I'll add is, and again, I do the thing where I defend Jonathan India's Rookie of the Year. Trevor Bauer pitched 11 games during his Cy Young season. I thank him very much for the Cy Young, our very first Cy Young in franchise history. Thank you, Trevor. But let's not pretend that was a real Cy Young. It's 11 games.
See, I disagree with that because everyone played the same league. He was the awards for the best pitcher in the league.
That's my take.
And he was the best pitcher in the league that year. It's just like the World Series. Yeah, I mean, like, we can make fun of him, Mickey Mouse, whatever you want to call it.
Everyone
World
played
Series.
60 games.
But, like, yeah, everyone had the same opportunities. It's almost like when you play. We'll talk about Week 1 last year with the Bengals and the Browns. I like to make the excuse, it was raining and it was terrible weather. I mean, the Browns played the same conditions. I was a Cubs fan. Yu Darvish finished second in that Cy Young race. I wanted Yu Darvish to win. Do I make fun of Trevor Bauer for winning the Cy Young? No. Because he earned it, because he was the best pitcher in the shortened season. That was the season that they played. But you are right. It doesn't belittle what you said about, like, he gets all this praise for pitching 11 games, right? Like, if you took away the first 2 months, April and May, who's the MVP? Mookie Betts would be the MVP of the National League. The Cy Young would probably go to, like, Shota, who had gave up 1 run in the first 2 months. But it is what it is.
That's it.
Yeah, that's all I got to say. Like I said, I try not to talk about those things too much because I feel like wherever you there's no proper way to go about it. But my opinion on the thing is, and I've said it 6 times now, I'll say it again, is that just don't. If you're an asshole and you wonder why people don't like you, it shouldn't be a surprise. Like, if you're going to be an asshole, be an asshole. That's fine. That's fine. But don't pout on the other end because no one likes you. He should pitch it. He should pitch again. I hope he pitches again. I really do hope that Trevor Bauer gets an opportunity.
You think he will?
I don't. This is where
because he does stuff like this.
Right.
It's so stupid.
It's not making any. He's not making any friends. I do think that the MLB has blackballed him. I think they have.
Yeah.
I think they have. There's no doubt in my mind that they have blackballed him. And there's no reason a talent like him shouldn't be on a major league roster. And it's not the first time we've seen it in sports. We've seen it in football. We've seen it for different reasons where guys have been blackballed. There's a reason that their talent. Yeah, I don't know. Anything else you guys want to say before we get off here?
No.
That's it. Thank you guys for watching.
Are my politics still the greatest mystery on this show?
It might be.
They are.
It might be. You hate. Yeah. We never know.
Kinner will be back tomorrow.
Speaking of politics, they were guessing where Kinner's at. He said long drive back from Chicago.
Is that where he's at? He's in
DNC.
That's really funny. The Reedpublican.
That's my favorite.
Isn't that the best nickname that we've had on here? All right, guys, I had fun. We will. I think we have something fun. I'll tease it. I think we are for members. I think we are going to start a fantasy football league.
That's right.
And we will do it tomorrow. We'll get all the details figured out tomorrow on Box Lunch.
Tomorrow's Box Lunch is going to be used for setting up the fantasy league. So if you want to be in it, make sure you're at Box Lunch tomorrow.
Yep. See you guys. I had a lot of fun talking football. I love talking football, even though I'm a baseball guy. See you guys.